Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if God like Naruto snaps during the Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was a beautiful autumn day, yet the date was always a bittersweet one. The date was October 10th, the day of the Kyuubi no Kitsune attack. That day many shinobi and civilians died, even the beloved 4th Hokage. Truly this date was on of mourning, yet it was the same day that the Kyuubi was supposedly killed. People celebrated by remembering those who died that day and celebrating the fox's death. Yet this is not true. The Kyuubi was a bijou, a creature made of living chakra, and therefore could not be killed by the same methods as mortals. No, instead the 4th could only seal the chakra into the body of a newborn baby, but it came at the cost of the Hokage's own life. His last words asked that the boy be treated as a hero. The reinstated 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, told the council of what happened to the fox and the 4th's dying wish, hoping that they would honor it, but the fools of the council demanded that the child be killed. Dismayed at their acts, the 3rd made it a law that no one of the younger generation was to know of the real fate of the Kyuubi, and that whoever spoke about the fox bijou would be tried for treason and executed. The news spread through the village like wildfire, and poor Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki to the Kyuubi, became the pariah of Konoha. Very few in the village saw Naruto as anything other than the demon reincarnate, thus making the child's life a living hell. People would beat, insult, torture, and even try to kill him on practically a daily basis. Today was Naruto's birthday, and the 6-year-old boy absolutely hated it. On this day a mob, larger than all the others, would gather and hunt the demon brat. Once they cornered the so-called demon, they would all take turns stabbing, hitting and torturing the boy till he lost consciousness. Today seemed to be no different for the Uzumaki youth, as he was once again cornered in an alley by a vicious mob. The blonde boy curled himself into a tight ball. "Grab the boy!" screamed a voice, and the next thing Naruto knew, he was being lifted into the air with a man grabbing his throat rather painfully. Suddenly the blonde was slammed into the wall, while the man who held him had a sadistic grin on his face. The man drew a kunai and thrust it into the child's right hand, pinning his arm to the wall. The blonde screamed in pain as the process was repeated with his other arm. The boy was pinned to the wall, blood seeping from the holes in his hands. Next thing he knew, the blonde was being stabbed, beaten, and tortured by each villager. The only thing he could do was endure the pain as it came with no respite. Why? Why do they do this to me, though the blonde? The pain kept building more and more till the blonde was barely able to form coherent thought. It was amazing how the blonde held on to his sanity, at least that's what it seemed on the outside. Slowly but surely, Naruto's mind was starting to feel the strain of the trauma he had endured in his 6 years of life. Memories that had been repressed started to leak through as memories started to replay in vivid detail in front of Naruto's eyes. Every glare, harsh word, and beating flashed through his mind. All the while he could feel the pain, except now the pain was put 1,000 times worse. Naruto ceased feeling the blows on his body and weakly raised his head to see what had happened. A silver-haired man walked forward dressed in a standard Chunin outfit. He pulled out a kunai and pointed it at the beaten and bloody Uzumaki. "Time to end this demon," stated the Chunin proudly. He was met with roars of approval. "Kill the brat. Run him through Mizuki. Send the demon back to hell." Without hesitation, the man now identified as Mizuki plunged the weapon into the boy's heart, cruelly twisting the blade. What happened next was the last thing anyone expected. It started out small, a mere silent giggling, and then it grew slowly till it was full-blown laughter. This laughter had no happiness in it. No, it was the laugh of those who had lost their mind, the laugh of the broken. Mizuki stared in horror at where the laughter was coming from, for it was coming from the mouth of Naruto Uzumaki. Suddenly Naruto ripped his hands free, ignoring the kunais, and stared at the terrified Mizuki, whose hand was still on the kunai driven into Naruto's chest. The blonde grabbed Mizuki's hand and crushed his hand, chuckling darkly as the haired nin howled in pain. "Did that hurt?" giggled the boy darkly. His voice had a demonic sound to it. "What's wrong? Can't handle the pain?" mocked the demonic youth. With that he pulled the kunai out of his chest and proceeded to stab Mizuki in the chest, repeatedly laughing like a madman. He finally let go of the dead ninja and proceeded to stare at the other people. The villagers stared in horror as the blonde stared at them with those dead blue eyes, a sadistic and crazed gleam in them, while he just smiled at them softly, laughing to himself. "What's wrong? You all seemed so eager to kill me earlier," the blonde giggled. "Or are you just surprised that I'm fighting back?" he mocked. "WEARNSCSC scared of YYU, stammered a villager. "Really? Because it looks like you want to piss yourself," laughed the child. "Shut up, demon! Why don't you just die and leave the rest of us in peace?" shouted a villager. The mob started to recover from their shock, but once again their morale was shattered by Naruto's horrible laugh. I'm the demon? I'm a 6-year-old child who was forced to endure the hatred of this village day in and day out, who had no knowledge of what was inside me until just recently, roared the blonde, clutching his sides in apparent mirth. The villagers were horrified as sudden realization dawned on them. Some screamed and tried to run away, only to find a wall of malevolent red chakra blocking their escape route. Now where do you think you're going? The fun has just started, said an amused voice behind them. The air was rent with screams of horror and insane laughter. The scene the Hokage and Anbu saw horrified them. The alley was bathed in blood and body parts. The hardened shinobi were horrified at the blood and guts. They all could only stare in morbid fascination at the massacre around them. The one thought on everyone's mind was who could have done this. Wading through the blood and guts, they heard light snoring and moved towards the sound. What they found was one Naruto Uzumaki sleeping in a pool of blood and cuddling the severed limb of some poor villager with a smile on his young whiskered face. The Hokage stared in horror, as did his Anbu. And Naruto? Asked Sarutobi, while shaking the boy he considered a grandson awake. Slowly Naruto opened his eyes and gave the Hokage an eerie smile. Hey old man, he said happily, but the boy's eyes startled the Hokage. They were still the same blue, but they lacked their usual shine. Instead, he saw all the pain and anguish the boy had hidden behind his happy mask. He also noticed the strange glint. Besides all of this, Naruto's eyes looked dead to the old man. Naruto, what happened here? Asked the old man. He was worried about what had happened to his surrogate grandson. He shuddered at the sadistic smile that slowly overcame the boy's face. Don't worry, Gigi. I just decided to have some fun, giggled the blonde. Everyone was shocked at his words. Naruto? You did this? Inquired the ancient shinobi. The next words that came out of Naruto's mouth made the Hokage internally recoil from him. Of course, Hokage-sama. After all, they did break your law. After he said this, he gave a creepy smile to the old man. What do you mean, Naruto? Asked the old man, fearing the blonde's reply. The next 4 words made the Hokage realize that the happy Naruto Uzumaki he used to know was dead. I met my tenant, Naruto replied simply. 8 years later. Naruto was walking through the forest of death at around midnight. It was the only place Naruto felt truly at home since the incident 8 years ago. The forest was the scariest and most dangerous area in Konoha, but he loved it. The place terrified people both during the day and even more so at night. He felt it represented his own social status perfectly. The Hokage had once offered to give Naruto an apartment, but the boy had turned it down, saying he preferred his home in the forest of death. When the Hokage had heard this, he had been terrified for the child's safety. Naruto chuckled at the memory. Flashback. Naruto, the forest of death is no place for a boy your age to be staying, said the Hokage firmly to the boy sitting in front of his desk. True, Hokage-sama, but I'm not your average child now, am I? The boy said, an amused smile on his face as he stared at the old man. The Hokage had given an involuntary shudder at this, but he knew Naruto was right. Ever since that night, the happy blonde child had died and left this thing behind. All the old man could do was nod and say that he would have Anbu check up on him twice a week until he became a genin. End flashback. The boy chuckled and resumed his walk through the forest. Currently he was walking along the forest floor smiling to himself. Someone was following him, but the blonde had let her since he had known the girl also came to the forest as well. In fact, he was surprised she had not found him before tonight. Suddenly the boy stopped in a clearing and stared at the moon. The girl watched as the boy stopped and perched herself in a tree, evaluating the boy. Her target was wearing a gray t-shirt, long black pants, and black boots. Covering his entire body was a black trench coat and black goggles. His hair had long since lost its luster but not its spiky and wild shape. Now it was a grayish blonde that reached down and partially covered his eyes. His headband had black cloth and the metal plate with the Konoha symbol signifying he was a shinobi. Come out, girl, I know you are there, Naruto said in an eerie voice. He was staring right at her hiding spot with a wolfish smile on his face. Come on, I won't bite. At this he chuckled to himself and said maybe. Naruto watched as the girl jumped out of her hiding place and stepped into the moonlight. She had purple hair tied into an odd ponytail and brown eyes. She was wearing mesh wire shirt and skimpy orange skirt that barely reached down to her mid-thigh. She wore standard shinobi sandals with shin guards and a tan trench coat. On her forehead was her Konoha headband, signifying she was a shinobi. Alright, what the hell do you think you're doing in my forest, Gaki? Asked the purple-haired girl threateningly, hoping to scare the kid off. Your forest? At this Naruto was giggling and slowly it turned into full-blown laughter, but this laughter scared the girl. Let me guess, you're Anko Mitarashi, known to the shinobi as the Snake Mistress, the snake whore to the villagers and former apprentice to Orochimaru to all, stated the boy to the now identified Anko. Furious Anko threw a kunai at the boy that grazed his cheek and caused him to bleed slightly. Immediately she appeared next to him and licked the blood off his cheek and said, "You better be careful what you say, brat, or I might just have to kill you," she whispered into his ear, confident that she had succeeded in scaring the boy shitless. Instead, Naruto had the exact opposite reaction that Anko had desired. He laughed maniacally and grabbed the snake mistress by her throat. "I applaud you, Anko. Not only do you endure the hatred of those damned villagers, but you actually have the gall to attack and threaten me," he praised. "You've earned my respect, Anko, something only the Hokage himself has." With this he let go of her and grinned at her as she fell flat on her butt. Anko was both surprised and scared at the genin's strength. That was when she saw his eyes through his goggles. Those eyes, those dead blue eyes, stared at her with an insane glint. They were filled to the brim with anguish and pain. For the first time in years, Anko Mitarashi was scared. What the hell happened to him, she thought. That was when she saw the 6 whisker marks on his face, 3 on each cheek, and realized who it was. "Why, you're Naruto Uzumaki, the container of the 9-tailed fox," she stammered. Naruto giggled insanely to himself at her fear. "You broke the third's law, Anko. You're lucky I already know about the fox, or the third would have been forced to kill one of his best interrogators," he said in a scary, happy voice. "How do you know so much about me?" asked Anko in fear, not caring that she had broken the third's law. "Honestly? You interest me, Mitarashi-san. I look forward to meeting you again," the dead-eyed boy said while walking off. "If you ever need some help interrogating someone or even getting back at someone, come find me, and if you can't find me, I'll find you." With that, the blonde disappeared into the shadows of the forest, chuckling darkly. Anko stood up shakily and headed towards the village. She needed a drink, and badly. With that thought, she leapt into the trees and headed for the nearest bar, intent on drinking herself till she forgot the entire event. Before she left, the sound of broken laughter filled her ears and the image of dead blue eyes flashed across her mind. She shuddered and was just glad that she wasn't one of the people he seemed likely to kill in the near future. The next day, Naruto was sitting in his seat at the academy waiting for his teacher, Iruka, to come in and announce the teams. As usual, the grayish blonde was sitting in the middle row, a chair away from Sasuke Uchiha, who as usual, was brooding and staring off into space with an angry look, not even acknowledging the fangirls who were gazing at him with hearts in their eyes. Naruto chuckled to himself. Those girls are either going to die on their first real mission or be sent straight back here for more training, Naruto thought. The idea of them dying caused him to chuckle. Ever since that day, the idea of death and pain made Naruto laugh. People had always enjoyed watching him suffer, so he figured that he had every right to do the same. Just then 2 girls burst into the room, the pink-haired one screaming, "I win! I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun!" She then proceeded to march triumphantly up to where both Sasuke and Naruto were seated. She glared at Naruto with her arms crossed. Naruto ignored her, already knowing what she was about to do. "Move it, Naruto! I want to sit next to Sasuke-kun!" Sakura screeched. Immediately everyone in the room focused on the two. Every staring at Sakura was filled with pity, amazement, or just plain surprise. Many people left the black-goggled boy alone due to his rather sadistic personality. Everyone knew that Naruto enjoyed inflicting pain both mentally and physically on anyone. Naruto looked at Sakura with a cruel smile. "I will move, Sakura, if you can ask in a civilized manner, that is, of course, if your parents were able to get off their council asses long enough to teach you how to be civilized to other people," Naruto stated in a mocking tone. He was grinning at her in a crazed manner from ear to ear. "See, could YUPP please move so ICA can sit any next to Sasuke-kun?" asked a terrified Sakura. Had Naruto been anyone else, she would have slugged them for insulting her family, but she had heard the rumors of how he never slept, how he lived in a dark forest filled with monsters, and how he killed people in the most horrible of ways, all the while laughing. She had heard the rumors about his parents, how they were demons that loved to bathe in the blood of their victims. Many had asked their parents about the black-clad youth, and they had told their children to stay away from the demon child, confirming that Naruto was not human, not entirely anyway. "Good girl, now go ahead and sit next to Sasuke like a good little fangirl, and remember your manners next time," Naruto stated mockingly with a sweet smile on his face. Sakura shuddered and quickly sat next to Sasuke. Naruto just grinned from ear to ear, glad that he had put the banshee in her place. Smirking, Naruto went back to waiting for Iruka to show up. "All right, everyone, settle down," said a scar-nosed man in a standard Chunin outfit. "Now soon you will all be placed into teams and your lives as shinobi will officially begin. I'm proud to have taught all of you," stated Iruka kindly. "Right then, on Team 1 will be," and with that Iruka started listing off the names of students and Jounin senseis. On Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, started Irika while Sasuke looked at Irika with interest. Sakura Haruno. Yes. True love conquers all, screamed the Banshee, pumping her arms in the air. And Naruto Uzumaki, your Jounin sensei will be Kakashi Hatake, finished Irika. At this, Sakura immediately stopped cheering and had a look of fear on her face. Sasuke seemed as uncaring as usual, but he was sending nervous glances to his goggled teammate. Naruto just smiled. Well, this may prove to be quite interesting, he chuckled at the thought. Soon Jounin started to appear and collect their teams. It was not long before only Team 7 was left. Naruto had decided to catch some sleep, because he knew that Kakashi was at least 2 hours late to everything except for things he considered important. Apparently meeting his new team wasn't that important to him. After 2 hours had passed, a silver-haired nin with his headband covering his left eye, half his face covered by face mask and standard Jounin attire appeared. The man observed his new team lazily. Let's see, I have the last Uchiha, his fangirl, and here his thoughts came to a screeching halt as he saw the final member of his team. Naruto gave the man a smirk and a small wave. The simple action caused Kakashi to mentally shudder. All right, meet me on the roof for introductions, Kakashi said, vanishing in a poof of smoke. Smiling his evil smile, Naruto headed for the roof, his teammates following behind him. Soon all three were seated around their sensei, who at the moment was leaning against the railing. Right then, how about we get to know each other? Tell me about yourselves, your likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams, stated Kakashi. How about you go first, sensei? Asked Sakura nervously. Fine, my name is Kakashi Hatake, my likes and dislikes are few and far between. My hobbies are my own and I don't feel like telling you about my dreams, Kakashi answered with a nice smile. Sasuke and Sakura's sweat dropped and thought all we learned was his name, while their teammate just chuckled. You're up, Pinky, said Kakashi, pointing at Sakura. My name is Sakura Haruno and I like. She glances at Sasuke. My hobbies are glances at Sasuke and blushes, dreams for the future, glances at Sasuke and squeals. Any dislikes? Kakashi asked with a sweat drop. Emo pig, Sakura shouted. Okay, you're up, emo boy, said Kakashi to Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I have no likes and many dislikes. My hobbies are training and my dream, no, my ambition, is to kill a certain man, stated the black-haired youth. Looks like you're up, Whiskers, stated Kakashi to the sadistic youth. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes include interrogations, torture, a certain snake, and laughing. My dislikes are people's ignorance, people who are too serious, and sad people who whine about their lives. My hobbies include midnight strolls, gathering information and thinking up games. At the word games everyone shuddered visibly. My dream is to have fun and to die with a smile on my face, finished the boy with a manic smile. So I have a brooding avenger, his fangirl, and a boy whose sanity is shaky at best with a love for causing pain, thought Kakashi with a sigh. Right then, I want all of you to meet me at Training Ground 7 at 6 a.m. for some survival training, Kakashi informed his students. But sensei, we already did training in the academy, Sakura protested. Yes, but this time your opponent will be me and this training will determine if you will become Genin, Kakashi sighed. What? We already took the test to become Genin, Sakura screeched, clearly annoyed and confused. That test was made to weed out those who had the potential and those who didn't. This test will determine if you will become Genin and it has 66% failure rate, so remember, meet at Training Ground 7 at 6 and before I forget, here he paused for effect, skip breakfast unless you want to puke, he finished with an eye smile. Before his students could protest, the masked man disappeared in a poof of smoke. Soon after, Naruto stood up and left for his forest to prepare while Sakura and Sasuke watched him walk off. They could have sworn they heard him saying something about preparing for the fun that was sure to come, which made all of them shiver in fear. Just what was Naruto going to do tomorrow, and what kind of tricks did he have up his sleeves? They could only wait for tomorrow and hope that whatever it was, their sensei would be in one piece. You're late, Sakura yelled at the grayish blonde-haired boy, though due to her lack of sleep and food she wasn't as loud as usual. Am I? Well, better late than never. Besides, I don't see our sensei here, so I don't think it really matters, Naruto said in a mocking voice. With that, he proceeded to take out a weapon that nobody had seen before. It was a purple revolver with a black handle that could hold up to 6 bullets. On the handle you could see the picture of a grinning red fox head with yellow eyes. The gun had been a gift from Kyubi, or as he liked to call her, Vixen-chan. Yes, the great and fearsome Kyubi no Kitsune was a female and quite a hot one at that. Naruto remembered the day he had met her. Flashback. Naruto found himself inside of a filthy hallway that was lined with steel doors that had little slides in them that allowed someone to look inside. Each door represented a memory, and the condition of the door represented the state of the memory. The entire place had the feel of an asylum to it, which Naruto absolutely loved. He walked down the hall and stopped before a door that had torn and ragged piece of paper on it with the kanji for seal. The piece of paper seemed to deteriorate more and more every day. When Naruto had asked, the Kyuubi had told him that the seal was breaking and half her chakra would be transferred to him when it finally did break. She had told him that nothing would happen to him physically, and the only side effect was that she would no longer be in his mind, but she'd literally be bonded to Naruto for life. In every sense of the word, Kyuubi was Naruto's mate, which actually made both of them quite happy. What made it even better was the fact that since Naruto would be half demon, he would be able to take on more than one mate, though the blonde said he only wanted 3 mates at the most. Opening the door, he looked in to find a room completely different from the rest of his mindscape. The room seemed to be made out of a dark mahogany with a red carpet floor. It contained a grand fireplace, 2 recliner chairs, and a king-sized bed with satin sheets with matching mattress and black pillows. There was a bookshelf, and what seemed to be a hanging flat-screen T.V hanging over the fireplace. The T.V allowed Kyuubi to see and hear whatever Naruto did. Sitting in one of the recliners was a woman wearing a black dress and a red sash with a slit going up the left side of the dress where it stopped at her mid-thigh. She had slit pupils with red irises and long red hair that flowed to the small of her back. Her dress hugged her figure, showing off her beautiful curves and her double C-cup sized. Her 9 flowing tails and fox ears only added to her beauty, making her seem like some exotic goddess. "Hello, Vixen-chan, enjoying yourself, I hope?" smirked Naruto as he sat in the chair across from her. She smirked at the boy. "Yes, I am, and I have a surprise for you, Naruto," she purred. She stood up and walked over to a chest at the foot of her bed and pulled out a revolver. She tossed the gun to the goggled boy, who caught it deftly in one hand. Placing his goggles so they hung loosely around his neck, the Uzumaki proceeded to inspect the weapon closely. He cast an amused smirk at his mate and cocked an eyebrow. "That, my little Otokomono, Joker, is a revolver pistol I made specifically for you," she said with a smile. "It works by placing one of these things." She pulled out a bullet inside the revolving chamber, adding some chakra, and voila! Instant flying death or pain. She smiled. "Really?" he asked with an eager smile, the insane glint in his eye sparkling. She nodded. "This thing can fire up to, say, 30 yards easy with just the smallest amount of chakra. Give it more chakra or a good dose of yuki if you want to launch it farther," she said. Naruto was giddy with excitement at his new toy. He couldn't wait to test it on some villagers who got too brave, or drunk. If he couldn't use villagers, he'd settle for enemy ninjas. "That's not the best part though," sang Kyuubi while taking the gun away. She pointed it at him and pulled the trigger. Instead of a bullet flying out of the gun, out popped a little banner that said "Bang." Naruto laughed insanely at this. He would definitely enjoy that feature. "Wait, there's more," she said. Naruto watched in eager anticipation as she pointed the gun at the wall and pulled the trigger again. The banner launched from the gun at high speeds and embedded itself in the wall with another banner coming out the back that said "HA." "Ha! Ha!" Naruto leaped out of his chair and kissed Kyuubi deeply before resurfacing with a pop. "Vixen-chan, this is probably the best gift I've ever gotten from you. Well, besides the sex, of course," exclaimed the insane young man. Kyuubi had giggled at this. "Soon, Naruto, soon I'll be out of here, and then we can really have some fun," thought the kitsune with a sadistic grin. Flashback end. Naruto laughed at the memory, and how he had tested that gun. Some ways away, several men in wheelchairs shivered. The pain from when their kneecaps had been blown off seemed to resurface. Some of those men still couldn't sleep at night without hearing the laughter and the bang of the gun that had crippled them. "Oi, what the hell are you laughing at, creep?" asked Sasuke. Naruto glanced at the Avenger, and a vicious smile spread across his face, threatening to split it in half. "Oh, nothing that concerns you," the blonde said. He was pointing his gun at imaginary targets, showing off the weapon to the Uchiha, wanting him to take the bait. "What the hell is that weapon?" Sasuke demanded, curious about the strange item in the black-clad boy's hands. "Hook, line and sinker," thought the blonde. "This? Oh, this is just something that if Itachi had, he could have eradicated your pathetic clan in half the time it took him," the sadistic boy said offhandedly. "You know, in all honesty, he left you alive. He probably wants you to avenge the clan or something like that. A complete and utter waste of time in my book," Naruto added, tapping the barrel against his chin in mock thought. "Give me that weapon," snarled an enraged Sasuke. He was pissed at him. A lowly commoner and orphan to boot would dare insult his clan and ambition like that. He wanted to take that weapon and kill both Naruto and Itachi. Something that powerful should belong to him. "You want this weapon?" Fine then, but first let me show you how it works, Naruto said with sadistic glee. Quick as a whip, Naruto fired off a round with a loud bang at Sasuke's head. The bullet lodged itself in the post behind a shocked and terrified Sasuke. The hole was mere inches from Sasuke's head and was still smoking. Now for a close-range demonstration, Naruto giggled. Slowly he strode over to where Sasuke was sitting, leaking off killer intent as he went. When he was mere feet from Sasuke, he lifted the barrel and pointed it right between the surviving Uchiha's head. Sasuke wanted to scream, wanted to run, but he couldn't move. He was rooted to the spot in fear. Sakura was in a similar position. They both watched in terror as their teammate approached Sasuke slowly. In slow motion they watched as Naruto pulled the trigger. Instead of the bang they expected, out popped a little banner with the word bang on it. When he saw this, Sasuke did the one thing that most people did when they experienced something like this: he pissed himself. Naruto laughed uproariously at his brooding teammate's reaction. In his mind he heard his tenant laughing as well. It's not every day you get to see one of the high and mighty Uchiha soil himself in fear. This was the scene that Kakashi appeared on. He saw a terrified Sasuke and Sakura looked about ready to faint. He quickly concluded that Naruto was the cause of it. He sighed. If these guys pass, then we're really gonna have to work on teamwork, Kakashi thought. Naruto, stop scaring Sasuke and Sakura so we can start the test, the one-eyed Jounin said to the blonde. Whatever you say, Cyclopes-sensei, Naruto said while putting his gun back in his trench coat. Kakashi's sweat dropped at this, but shook it off and placed a timer on the middle stump. Right, your task is simple. All you have to do to pass is get one of these bells, he said, pulling out 2 silver bells with a jingle. Whoever doesn't have a bell by the time the buzzer goes off will fail and be sent back to the academy, said the Jounin seriously. Sakura and Sasuke tensed while Naruto smiled his sadistic smile again. Sakura then noticed something. But sensei, there are only 2 bells, she protested. Exactly, which means one of you will fail, Kakashi stated simply. Sakura and Sasuke got determined looks while Naruto's grin grew wider. Also, if you want a bell, come at me with the intent to kill, he said seriously. The test begins now, stated Kakashi. Immediately Sasuke and Sakura vanished in blurs of speed. Naruto, on the other hand, just stayed where he was. Naruto, you do realize the test has started? Asked Kakashi. Yup, just wanted to jibe your hand a shake before we started in anticipation of a good fight, Naruto stated, offering his hand with a giant smile on his face. Confused Kakashi shook the odd child's hand. Immediately lightning raced all across Kakashi's body before said masked ninja exploded in a poof of smoke. It was only a clone, Naruto said with a pout. Well, all I have to do is just find the real one, but where could he be? Naruto said, taking out his revolver. He tapped it against his chin lightly, chuckling to himself. Suddenly he turned around, his gun pointed at a tree several yards away. There you are, he shouted and fired 6 Yuki-infused bullets at the tree. He laughed insanely as he watched the tree explode in a fiery explosion. Who knew Vixen-chan's Yuki would cause the bullets to explode on impact? He laughed. He then stared at a very surprised Kakashi who had just appeared in the clearing. There you are. And here I was thinking you'd left me all to my lonesome with no one to play with, Naruto said in a mock-hurt voice. He laughed and attacked his sensei, covering the distance in the blink of an eye. Now let the fun begin, he shouted, his fist aimed at Kakashi's head. Quickly the silver-haired man twisted his head to avoid the strike. Damn, this kid is almost as fast as a low Jounin. How the hell can he move so fast? Then he remembered his student saying something about Vixen-chan's Yuki. His eyes widened slightly. Is this kid using the fox's chakra? He thought, panicked. Naruto swept his leg at Kakashi, aiming for his ribs, but the Jounin grabbed the boy's leg and threw him away. Naruto landed easily on his feet and laughed. I must say, Kakashi, you make quite a big bang, the blonde laughed. Before Kakashi could wonder what he was talking about, several small balls leapt into the air. Each one had a smile on its face, and the kanji for goodbye written in green on them. Without warning, the bombs exploded, surrounding Kakashi in a fiery explosion and smoke. Perhaps I went a little too far, Naruto giggled darkly. Oh well, as long as one of the bells is intact I pass, he said with a laugh as he walked over to the explosion site. Walking over, he noticed that all that was there were the remains of a log and something that made Naruto grin. Stooping down, he picked up his find and slipped them into one of his many hidden trench coat pockets. Well, time to have some more fun, Naruto said cheerily. Sakura had been watching the entire thing in fear. She had watched as Naruto destroyed the tree with that weapon. She saw how the goggled boy had attacked her sensei with a bloodthirsty grin. She saw Naruto's bombs go off and heard what he had said. She thought for sure her sensei was nothing more than a charred corpse. In all her life she could honestly say she had ever met someone as terrifying as Naruto Uzumaki, and she shuddered to think of meeting someone even scarier than her teammate. Meanwhile, Sasuke had watched the entire fight in anger. He couldn't believe someone had that much power. He trained every single day to get stronger, and yet here is some no-clan freak that is stronger than him. He clenched his fists in frustration. He wanted that power, needed that power to beat Itachi. Sasuke Uchiha made a vow that he would figure out how Naruto got so strong and he would learn every one of the freak's techniques. So Vixen-chan? Should we end this test already? Naruto mentally asked his tenant. Yeah, you probably should, otherwise your sensei, she spat out the word sensei with contempt, will just humiliate them and the buzzer will go off, said the demon. Naruto nodded and shouted for his hidden teammates. Hey Pinky and Broody! Get out here! He hollered with a smile. There was silence. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi were all thinking the same thing. What the hell is he doing? Naruto sighed. He had tried to make them come out by asking nicely, but it seemed he'd have to do it the fun way. Putting on his patented manic smile, the blonde raised his gun and pointed at the forest where his teammates were hiding. I'll count to 3, and if you aren't out here before I finish counting, I'm going to splatter your insides all over the forest like confetti. He cackled madly. The reaction was instant. Immediately both Sakura and Sasuke were standing in front of him. Sasuke looked angry but also afraid. He did not want the psycho shooting at him again. Sakura just decided to come out so Naruto didn't kill anyone. What do you want, freak? Sasuke demanded. Just wanted to give you guys a gift, the goggled boy said happily. With that he reached inside his trench coat and took out 2 silver bells with a flourish. Needless to say his teammates were stunned. How? Asked an amazed Sakura. The one-eyed wonder probably dropped them when he switched himself with the log to escape my happy bombs, Naruto said with a grin. The lazy fool probably didn't even notice he dropped them, the blonde giggled. From his hiding place Kakashi could only sweat drop at his student's words. Can you blame me? I know I said come at me with the intent to kill, but I didn't actually think you'd nearly kill me, thought the Jounin. He sighed and jumped to where his students were. So it seems you have both bells, Naruto. What now? Asked Kakashi. The boy smirked at his sensei. With a flick of his wrist he tossed the bells to his teammates, and took up a battle stance. Those 2 can take the bells. I want to fight my way onto your team. After all I do owe you, Inu-san, Naruto said mockingly. If someone could have seen the Uzumaki's eyes, they would have seen utter loathing mixed in with the other emotions of his dead blue eyes. Surprised, Kakashi decided to just pass the kids and ask his student how he knew his A and B name. Well, then I guess you pass, the Jounin said with a nice smile. Sasuke and Sakura were confused to say the least, but Naruto wasn't. You see, this test was designed so that you would fight against each other when you need to work together to get a bell, explained the masked man in a hurry. He wanted to get rid of Sasuke and Sakura so he could question the blonde. Naruto here showed excellent teamwork, so because of him you all pass, Kakashi told them. Now you are all dismissed. Meet here at 9 for missions, training and so on every day from here on out, Kakashi informed them. Now you are all dismissed except for you, Naruto. I want to talk to you about something, stated Kakashi. Naruto grinned while his teammates left with very confused expressions. Kakashi turned to the boy with a curious expression. As he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Naruto's laughter. Let me guess, you want to know how I know your A and B name? He asked. Kakashi nodded. Trust me when I say it wasn't easy, but I wanted to find the man who helped turn me into what I am today. The blonde crowed. Kakashi's eyes widened in surprise. What does he mean? I've never laid a finger on him, he thought. Oh, don't worry, I know full well you never harmed, but I do know that you were supposed to be one of my bodyguards. Funny how you never seemed able to stop the mobs, the blonde giggled. Yet it's also amazing how I always saw you just sitting there watching the mobs nearly kill me. Here the blonde grinned wolfishly. Kakashi's eye widened and he mentally started to panic. It was true he had been sent to guard Naruto, but the lazy Nin had never felt compelled to help the boy. In fact, until he saw that night 8 years ago, he had resented the boy for having a part in taking his sensei's life. Of course he would never attack the boy, but he wouldn't help either. You do realize if I were to tell the Hokage about this, you'd probably have your shinobi license revoked, or perhaps you'd be forced to take on suicide missions for the rest of your life alone, taunted the boy. He was relishing in his sensei's obvious panic, and could actually feel the small waves of fear coming off of him. Naruto, I want to apologize for what I did. I didn't know. Kakashi tried to apologize but was stopped by Naruto's howling laughter. Didn't know? Didn't know? Oh, that's rich. Fucking rich. The blonde laughed. He tore off his goggles so Kakashi could see his eyes. You saw how I was treated. You knew how much people hated me, and you know full well the hell I went through. He screamed at the silver-haired man. Kakashi stared in horror at the boy in front of him. Many say that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and Kakashi could see that his soul was filled with pain and anguish. He also saw the utter contempt and insane gleam in those dead blue eyes. Those eyes, coupled with that grin of utter insanity, terrified him beyond anything he had ever seen. Not even the stories of Orochimaru's experiments scared him this much. "If you had done your goddamn job, I wouldn't be like this, and you know it," the blonde accused. "Though if not for your inactions, I probably would have been trying to mask my pain by acting like a buffoon, and I would be utterly oblivious to what I really am and a total weakling," the blonde told the man. "So Kakashi, know this. I thank you for what you have done for me and hope the knowledge that you turned your sensei's son into the one thing he never wanted, a complete and total monster." With that, Naruto gave a shocked Kakashi a miming bow and disappeared in a puff of purple smoke, the sound of his broken laughter echoing throughout the clearing in Kakashi's horrified mind. Kakashi slumped to his knees and just stared off into the distance. He knew every word that Naruto had said was true. "Sensei, Obito, Rin, I'm sorry," Kakashi thought with shame. Slowly Kakashi left the clearing and vowed he would try to make amends with Naruto, to try and make up for his creation of the thing known as Naruto Uzumaki. He shivered as that dead laughter still rang in his ears, chilling him to the soul. Forest of Death. Anko couldn't believe what she was doing. It was unheard of, unthinkable even. She was Anko Mitarashi for Kami's sake, and yet here she was jumping around the forest of death searching for someone she knew nothing about except for one thing: he was one of the only people in the world she was afraid of. She sighed in exhaustion and sat down on one of the thick branches of the many trees in the forest. She had searched all the places where he thought the guy might be, but he was nowhere. It was like he just vanished into thin air. She sighed and thought about just giving up. Well, what do we have here?" said a voice with an amused tone. Quickly Anko sprang into her serpent fist stance and looked for the voice. "Oh, come now, my little Hibi-chan, do you really believe you can hurt me? You can't even find me," laughed the voice. Anko was getting annoyed. "All right, show yourself, you goggled son of a," she shouted. Suddenly she felt a presence behind her and turned quickly, already throwing a punch at her target. She was surprised when the blonde boy actually bent so far backwards that the back of his head nearly touched his heels. And he didn't move anything but his upper body. "A good punch, but next time try to be a little faster," Naruto commented while straightening up. As he straightened, Anko looked and saw that where Naruto's feet should have been, they disappeared into shadow, her shadow to be correct. Naruto followed her gaze and smirked. "Let me guess, you want to know how I'm part of your shadow, right?" Not bothering to wait for an answer, he continued. "It's quite amazing, really. Due to my rather unique nature, I can actually manipulate shadows and even travel through them," stated the blonde with a smirk. "The only problem is that in order to use them effectively, I need either complete darkness or large enough shadows or thousands of tiny shadows," the boy said in mock woe. He laughed not seconds after that. "But you can't have everything, because then life wouldn't be so goddamn hilarious," chuckled the boy. His chuckle made Anko shiver, but whether out of fear or something else she couldn't tell. "Now then, may I ask why you are searching for me?" asked the boy, stepping out of the shadow. "Yeah, there's a guy down at the TNI that not even Ibiki can break," said the Kunoichi, putting on a smirk to hide her surprise that the boy knew she was looking for him. "He was caught stealing a weapon called the Raijin from a secret location, and the bastard has not only hidden the weapon but refuses to tell us why he did it," Anko told the Uzumaki. "So you thought that maybe I could succeed where your people have failed? Why not have Inoichi just probe his mind?" asked the blonde, a smile starting to form on his face. "We tried, but the bastard keeps throwing Inoichi out of his head before we can learn anything," Anko said in a frustrated tone. "Well then, let's go see what fun I can have with this guy," Naruto proclaimed happily. With that, he grabbed Anko by the wrist and dragged her with him into the shadows. Interrogation room. Ibiki was surprised when his partner Anko and a strange teenager with a black trench coat materialized in the room via the shadows. Anko turned towards her companion and shot him an annoyed glare. "Never do that again," she growled. "Never do what again? Don't tell me you didn't enjoy the shadow travel. While it is creepy, the experience itself is quite pleasant," grinned the blonde. "Just tell me before you do something like that," she said heatedly. Ibiki noticed the pink hue that had appeared on her cheeks and wondered what had happened. Anko had actually enjoyed traveling through the shadows, though she would not tell the blonde that. She expected to feel cold and hopeless, but instead the shadows had a peaceful feel. While they had moved through them, she had felt how the shadows had caressed her body with a lover's touch, how every touch had sent shivers of pleasure through her body. When she had left, she had felt how the shadows seemed to gently push her but lingered, as if telling her to come back to them soon. Ibiki coughed to get the two's attention. They turned to him to show they were listening. "Right then, I'm to assume that you are the person Anko said could break this guy?" asked the imposing man to Naruto. Naruto grinned at this and shot Anko a glance. Yes, I believe I can break this person Ibiki. My only request is that you do not interrupt, no matter what, Naruto told the man with a sadistic grin. Fine, but just know that you are not allowed to kill the prisoner, Ibiki said, a little unnerved by the smile. He opened the door to where the man was being held and handed Naruto a file on the prisoner. I'll be watching, so remember, don't kill the prisoner, kid. Don't worry, Ibiki-san. After all, a corpse isn't nearly as much fun as a living person. With that, the blonde slammed the door behind him. His laughter could be heard from the other side of the door. Naruto grinned as he approached the man tied to the chair. The man had brown hair and a long scar on his forehead. His brown eyes glared defiantly at the blonde. Rokushu Aoi, Jounin of Konoha and found stealing Raijin, the legendary lightning sword, Naruto read out loud from the folder. His tone sounded playful. Now how about you tell me where the sword is? If you think you can make me talk, then you're wasting your time. Aoi spat, a triumphant grin on his face. Naruto got a sadistic grin on his face and threw the folder over his shoulder. Great. I was hoping you'd refuse to talk, exclaimed the blonde, happily pulling out a syringe filled with a purple liquid. It's much more fun when you decide not to talk. That way I get to hear you scream, he chuckled darkly. With that, he plunged the syringe into Aoi's neck and injected the serum. Aoi grunted in pain as he felt all of his muscles start to tighten and stretch in ways that were painful. Slowly his face tightened to the point it looked like he was wearing a giant grin with his eyes stretched wide open. What the hell did you do to me? Aoi said through clenched teeth. That, my friend, is a special serum I've created that completely tightens the muscles of the body to the point it hurts. Hell, right now you are little better than a bowstring ready to snap from strain, explained the blonde, pressing down on Aoi's fingers, straightened fingers causing them to curl painfully. Aoi wanted to scream in protest, but all that came out was a gurgled cry. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were in pain, but that smile on your face says otherwise, Naruto giggled cruelly. You know what? If you want the pain to stop, just yell Kitsune, but if you yell Kitsune, then you have to tell me where the blade is, agreed? Naruto said, curling one of Aoi's fingers again. The man gave another gurgled scream but glared at the teen in defiance. Oh good. Now let's see, the serum should last for another hour, so that gives me plenty of time for me to milk this type of torture, then move on to more fun. The blonde said, clapping his hands and removing his goggles. Aoi looked at the blonde in fear. He saw the sadistic smile, the insane glint in those dead blue eyes, but what's more, he saw the 3 whisk marks on each cheek. Oh ho, so you recognize me? I was actually quite pleased that I would be able to pay someone back for the kindness they showed me so many years ago, Naruto said in a delighted voice, giving Aoi a look that promised pain and suffering, and the blonde would enjoy every second of it. Remember, the word is Kitsune, but please remember to say it as loud as you can because I've been having trouble hearing lately, he giggled insanely. That look and that giggle did it for Aoi. He didn't want to be anywhere near this insane child. Kazun! Kitsune! For the love of Kami, Kitsune! Screamed the man as best as he could. Tears were running down his eyes as his eyes rolled in fear. I hid the blade inside of an abandoned shack in the forest near the memorial stone, he shouted. The paralyzing effects seemed to have worn off, and the man was now thrashing desperately to get away from Naruto. The blonde just smirked and left. Anko and Ibiki could not believe what they had seen. Here was a genin that had just broken a jounin in no less than 20 minutes. Ibiki was impressed while Anko was both impressed and somewhat in awe of the boy. Said boy walked up to them and gave both ninja a wolfish smile. I must admit, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, stated the blonde, snapping the two back to reality. If you need help, then here's my card and you know where to find me, Anko, stated the boy, tossing Ibiki a card. The man caught the card and was slightly confused at it. It was a regular playing card, a joker to be exact. The odd thing about it though was that on the back of the card was the kanji for fox in green ink. Looking up, he saw that Naruto was gone and a single purple rose was left with a note. Curious, Anko picked up the rose and found it was addressed to her. The message read, "Till next time, my Hibiheim." Anko quickly hid the flower before Ibiki could see. So what did the flower say? Ibiki asked. Nothing, let's just get this guy back to his cell and report to the Hokage, Anko said quickly, avoiding eye contact with her partner. Confused, Ibiki just shrugged and went inside to retrieve the whimpering Aoi. Next day, Kakashi sat in a tree observing the target his team had been ordered to retrieve again. This was the 3rd time today, and the team was getting tired of it. He sighed and was just about to contact his team when something happened. Out from the foliage burst some kind of giant dog with brown fur and black spots. The dog was about the size of a pony but had double the bulk. Sitting astride this behemoth was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. Time to die, you hairy bastard! yelled the blonde with a giant smile. The hairy bastard in question dashed off into the forest in pure fear. Naruto just laughed. Shanzi. Lunchtime. With that, the hyena gave a barking laugh and raced after its prey. Kakashi quickly raced after the two with Sasuke and Sakura right behind him. I thought he was joking when he said he was going to feed that cat to his hyena, Sakura yelled, both annoyed and terrified. Let's just hope Naruto remembers not to kill Tora, Kakashi stated lazily. Though in all honesty I wish that cat would die already, thought the silver-haired man. Sasuke seemed to be thinking the same thing. The team quickly found Naruto and his hyena, Shanzi, inside a clearing, but there was no sign of the cat Tora. Naruto was leaning against the beast's side with a very satisfied smirk on his face. The hyena also seemed satisfied and was picking its teeth with its claws. Naruto, Kakashi started slowly. Where's Tora? He asked, fearing the worst. Naruto grinned. If you're wondering where that fur ball is, she's not dead. Here, he giggled. Yet of course. Then where is Adobe? Sasuke demanded. Shanzi growled at the Uchiha, but Naruto waved him down. Shanzi ate her, and we've got about 30 minutes till the cat is digested. After that we wait for nature's call, Naruto stated happily, giving Shanzi a scratch behind his ears. Sakura looked horrified, Sasuke seemed disgusted, and Kakashi was impassive as always. Well then, let's get moving. The Hokage's office is a good 10 minutes away, and I'm sure Tora could very well die of suffocation or fright as easily as digestion, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Kakashi then turned to leave when he heard an audible gasp from Sakura. He looked to see she was pointing at where Naruto was. He turned to see Naruto and his hyena were gone, with only a few tendrils of shadow showing where they had been. Kakashi sensed around for Naruto's chakra signature, but he couldn't sense him anywhere. His eye widened in realization that Naruto must have used some sort of Shushin technique. Where on earth did he learn that technique? Thought Kakashi. Once again Sasuke seemed to be thinking the same thing, but he had a very annoyed expression on his face. Hokage Tower, Mission Room. The Hokage was staring at the blonde before him with a stoic expression. Everyone else in the room seemed to be horrified, and the fire daimyo's wife seemed to be ready to have a nervous breakdown. Naruto just grinned while he leaned and a bored-looking Shanzi. So, let me get this straight, started the Hokage. Your summons, Shanzi, has eaten Tora but has yet to digest said cat? He asked. Mama was right, I really need to chew before I swallow, stated the hyena with a slight grimace. Case of indigestion, big guy? Asked Naruto. Yeah, I'm surprised that thing is still alive. I can see why you hate trying to catch this thing, boss, nodded the big hyena. Alright then, open wide and say ah buddy, Naruto grinned. Sakura, Sasuke and Kakashi had just arrived at the tower, and had opened the door to the tower, and what they saw, well, it wasn't what was expected. Naruto had taken off his trench coat, and had his entire arm inside of his hyena's mouth. At some points he would pull out various objects, and some of the objects caused some to feel nauseous and others to just stare in amazement. Behind Naruto was a growing pile of various objects and bones, all of them coated in saliva and or bile. Currently there seemed to be at least 3 skulls, several femurs and arm bones, an entire cow ribcage, a golden chalice encrusted with diamonds, several kunai and shuriken sets, and a copy of Ika Ika Paradise. Is that my book? Asked an amazed Kakashi. I thought I lost that in my last spar with you. That book was a limited edition copy signed by Jiraiya himself, said the ninja frantically. Aha! There you are, you little bugger! Shouted Naruto triumphantly. With a tug he yanked out a very terrified and saliva-soaked Tora. Here you are, ma'am, and remember, there are plenty of animals out there that would consider Tora a very tasty treat, said Naruto with a big terrifying grin on his face. Shanzi gave a snigger and eyed Tora hungrily. With a yelp the woman quickly paid for the mission and ran out the door. Naruto and Shanzi burst into laughter after they went, which caused everyone in the room to shudder. The Hokage couldn't help but wonder where the smiling boy that he had known had gone. The rest of Team 7 just wondered how sane their teammate was. After some time Naruto turned towards the Hokage. So old man, you got any more missions for us? Preferably something a little more challenging, asked Naruto with an amused smirk. Well, I do have several more DRA dash. He was cut off by a rather annoyed bark from Shanzi. What the hell, old man? Give the boss a better mission than those damn D-ranks. Growled out the hyena. An alpha like him doesn't deserve to be doing other people's chores, especially not these damned villagers. Naruto, control your summons, Iruka shouted. He was helping with the missions that day and was just about to lecture them when he heard an annoyed growl. Shanzi was glaring at Iruka with a murderous glint in his black eyes. Naruto laughed. You really shouldn't order me like that in front of my summons. They look at me as the alpha male of their pack, Second only to their lovely leader Alala, he gave his former sensei a big grin. In other words, don't go around ordering me like you are my better in front of my hyena, for only the Hokage may do so and only because the Hokage has my respect. In any event, I do have a C rank for your team, Kakashi, Sarutobi interjected before things could escalate. Immediately all attention was on him. All you have to do is escort a bridge builder back to his home and defend him until the bridge is complete, stated the old man. Sold. To the maniac in the goggles, laughed Naruto. Shanzi, tell Big Mama the good news. The blonde ordered his hyena. The hyena put a paw to his forehead in a mock salute, and left in a poof of smoke. Sarutobi nodded and pressed a button on the intercom. Send Tazuna in, ordered the wizened Hokage. Not minutes later an old man wearing traveler clothes and a sake bottle in hand appeared. He stumbled a bit, and looked over his team. This is the ninja that will defend me? Tazuna slurred, obviously drunk. They look like a bunch of worthless brats. And what's with the one with the creepy smile? He looks like a demented clown. In response, Naruto just walked up to the man with an open hand. Sir, I can assure you that this clown is more than competent, so how about we shake hands and get this mission started on the right foot, HM? Asked the blonde with a pleasant but eerie smile. Shrugging, Tazuna reached out a hand and the next thing he knew he was on the floor in crumpled heap courtesy of about 5,000 volts of electricity. Naruto laughed insanely at the electrocuted client, and walked out of the office. Kakashi sighed and helped the client to his feet. It would be wise if you refrained from insulting Naruto, warned the one-eyed Nin. Tazuna just nodded dumbly. This is going to be a long trip, Kakashi mentally groaned. The sun was high in the sky as Team 7 and Tazuna proceeded down the road to Wave Country. Currently Naruto was out in front looking for something to do, preferably something to kill. Sasuke was next to Tazuna with his hands in his pockets and glaring at the world. Sakura was talking with Tazuna about Wave while Kakashi took up the rear with his nose buried in his book. Suddenly Naruto spotted a puddle and a smile slowly started to form on the blonde's face. Time to have some fun, Naruto thought with a dark chuckle. Slowly the blonde reached into one of his many hidden pockets and drew out several of his happy bombs. As he passed the puddle he deftly flicked his wrist and the explosives landed in the puddle. The following explosion kicked up a bunch of smoke and dust, and once it cleared there were two figures wearing gas masks, tattered cloaks and had kiri headbands with slashes through them. Each ninja was wearing a large clawed gauntlet that connected them together via a bladed chain. Currently both brothers were battered and bruised from the explosion, and one of them appeared to have severe burns all over his left side. The Demon Brothers. Now this mission just got interesting, Naruto yelled while charging the Kiri Nuke Nin. Quickly the two missing Nins wrapped their chain around the charging boy. One down, said one, and with that the brothers yanked their chain and the Uzumaki boy was ripped to bloody shreds. Team 7 watched in morbid fascination as the remains of their teammate hit the ground with squishy thuds. Next one, stated the one on the right. With that they charged towards Tazuna with their chain held taut, the metal gleaming off the blades in the sunlight, soaked with the recent blood. Suddenly a kunai had pinned the chain to a tree and Sasuke immediately appeared on the weapon's hilt and delivered a devastating kick and punch to the brothers on the left and right respectively. Immediately the brothers released their chain, one going after Sasuke and the other charging towards Sakura and Tazuna. Before the one attacking Tazuna and Sakura could do anything, Kakashi appeared and knocked him out with a chop to the back of the neck. After tying his adversary to a tree, Kakashi turned to see Sasuke was having trouble with his opponent. The Uchiha ducked under a swipe from the Kiri Nin's gauntlet but was thrown onto his back from a straight kick to the face, a crunching sound ensuring his nose had been broken by the Demon Brother's kick. From his position he could only freeze in terror as he watched the Nuke Nin bring his clawed hand down for the killing blow. However, there was a loud crack and a look of surprise appeared on the Demon Brother's face. Slowly the Nin's eyes rolled back into his head and he fell to the ground, his blood pooling out beneath him. Sasuke stared in shock at the body, then looked up to see a smirking Naruto with his gun pointed up in the air, the barrel smoking from the shot. The gray blonde gave a mocking smile to the Uchiha and said, "What? Fox got your tongue the watery chicken?" Sasuke looked at Naruto with a look of shock that he was alive. This caused the Uzumaki to laugh uproariously at him, which in turn caused Sasuke's shock to slowly turn into anger and frustration. He grabbed his nose and snapped it back into place with a pained grunt and started to fix his nose while he glared at the blonde. Sasuke slowly got up and continued his one-sided staring contest with the blonde while Sakura stared in shock. "How the hell are you alive?" screamed Sakura at Naruto. Said blonde cleaned his ear with his pinky for a moment, and then went over to his so-called remains. "Kai," the blonde said with a smirk. Immediately the bloody chunks that looked like Naruto's remains poofed before revealing the mutilated carcass of a pig. Everyone stared in shock as Naruto picked up the pig head and started throwing it between his hands absent-mindedly, much to the disgust of everyone. If you haven't figured it out yet, Miss Pink, I replaced myself with a dead pig, Naruto chuckled while he started to play hacky sack with the head, bouncing it off of his feet and other body parts, even his head. Keeping his lazy facade up, Kakashi looked to his student and asked, "Where did you get a dead pig, and why?" Naruto balanced the head on his knee while he cupped his chin in mock thought, his other hand resting inside a trench coat pocket. Maybe because a henge dead pig is more convincing than a log? Suggested the boy with a grin. Kakashi mentally agreed with the boy on that. Hell, he himself had thought Naruto had been ripped to shreds by the demon brother's attack. Good point, but where did you get the pig? He pressed. Naruto grinned and pulled his hand outside of his pocket, withdrawing a scroll that had a skull with a big grin, smoking a cigar and wearing a party hat etched onto it. He tossed it to Kakashi, who deftly caught it, with a curious expression. Unrolling it, he found the words victim written in black kanji inside the scroll. There were several red X's going through some of the kanji. The gray-haired Nin quirked a brow at Naruto, expecting an explanation from his student. Each kanji is a storage seal with a carcass in it, and the red X going through it shows that I used it, the crazed genin explained with a bright smile while kicking the pig head extremely hard, a sickening crunch being heard. The head flew through the air and slammed into a tree, splattering blood all over the bark. "Goo-oh-ee-all!" yelled the blonde, standing ramrod straight with his hands in the air, a maniacal grin on his face. Everyone just stared in morbid fascination at the blonde, wondering how far off the deep end he had gone. "So you just carry a scroll full of dead pigs?" Sasuke asked with a disbelieving look. "Who said they were all pig carcasses, team?" Naruto asked with his head tilted to the side and a toothy grin on his face. His goggles flashed briefly in the light, revealing blue psychotic gleamed eyes with a slit black pupil. Sasuke paled a bit, as did Tazuna. Kakashi's eye widened a bit while Sakura could only stare horrified at her teammate. A whimper was heard and everyone turned their heads to see a very terrified Meizu. Meizu had woken up in time to see his brother be killed by this strange child. He had watched this child closely, and what he saw terrified him. Everything about the child screamed danger to Meizu, and those feelings were only reinforced when he saw the child just start to play with a severed head and tell everyone that he carried a scroll full of corpses. He was disturbed even more when he kicked the head into the tree, but what terrified him the most was when he caught sight of those eyes. Those eyes just screamed madness, of pain and anguish and complete disregard for life. If Meizu was sure about one thing, it was that this child did not care about who lived and who died, he only cared about killing his enemies, and he would absolutely enjoy killing his enemies. Naruto grinned at his captive and slowly started to walk forward towards the demon brother, his wolfish grin threatening to split his face in half. "If you'll excuse me, I believe it's time to find out why we were graced with the presence of Kiri's best tag team Nuke-Nins," the gray blonde said with a chuckle. Kakashi just watched the blonde to see what would happen. Slowly Naruto squatted in front of the tied Nuke-Nin and gave him an eerie smile. "Hey," Naruto said, causing Meizu to flinch. "Want to play a game?" he asked in low voice. "G-game?" Meizu asked fearfully. Naruto nodded enthusiastically as he pulled a serrated dagger from his pocket. The dagger was simple in design, a simple leather-wrapped hilt and a silver blade with the sun glinting off of the serrated edges malevolently. "Yes. A game," Naruto said happily, causing everyone to shiver in fear, especially Meizu, who could only watch the dagger in fear. "The game is called Which Organ Did I Just Stab?, and all you have to do is say which organ I just stabbed. If you're wrong, then I slowly remove the blade and stab it again, but slowly. However, if you're right, I'll pull it out quick and leave it alone," Naruto stated with a mad cackle. "Now, if you don't want to play the game, just yell Kitsune and answer all my questions, understand?" Naruto asked. Meizu just whimpered in fear but gulped and said, "I am not telling you anything," Meizu stuttered. "Then let the games begin," Naruto yelled happily and immediately plunged the dagger straight in between Meizu's ribs. Meizu screamed in pain while Naruto stared at him. "Now which organ did I just stab?" asked the insane genin. "Liver?" asked Meizu painfully, hoping beyond hope that he was right. "Nope, gallbladder, though you were close," Naruto said in a sing-song voice. "Now for the fun part," he said while slowly removing the serrated blade from the nin's gallbladder. Meizu started to grunt and whimper in pain as the blade slowly edged out, centimeter by painful centimeter, inch by bloody agonizing inch. When the blade finally came free, Meizu gave a loud yelp and began panting as if he had been running for 3 days straight. He watched as Naruto once again placed the blade on his chest, only this time the blade tip was a couple centimeters from the first stab wound. Slowly Naruto began to worm the knife into Meizu's skin, and the demon brother started to once again cry out in pain. "Kitsune!" he screamed, while Naruto suddenly stopped and cupped a hand around his ear. "What did you say?" asked the blonde with a smirk while he pushed the dagger further into his victim, much to the demon brother's horror and pain. I said Kitsune. Please dear Kami stop, I'll tell you anything. I'll tell you about my mission, the Mizukage, even the color of my underwear. Just stop, please just stop. Meizu said in a broken voice with tears coming down his face. With a satisfied smile, Naruto quickly yanked the dagger out and smiled at his prisoner. Great. Now first off, who sent you? Questioned Naruto, and soon the blonde and everyone knew about Gato, the bridge, the economy in Wave, and even about Zabuza and his accomplice. They even learned about the war in Kiri. Needless to say, Tazuna was more than a little uncomfortable. Naruto gave a wolfish grin and said, well, thanks for the info, buddy, but now you have to go bye-bye. Before Meizu could ask what that even meant, Naruto had pulled out a sledgehammer from seemingly nowhere and literally crushed the man's head like a grape, his blood, bone and brain matter flying all over the place. Now that's a juicy a tomato, Naruto said in a crazed Italian accent. What the hell is wrong with you? Screamed Sakura, now truly terrified out of her mind at her teammate. Everyone was thinking the same thing except for Kakashi, who could only look away, knowing full well what Naruto had become. Naruto turned to the girl while shouldering his hammer, a confused look on his face. What do you mean exactly? Because otherwise you're just being too broad, Naruto stated. I mean, first you say you have corpses in a scroll that you use for kawarimi, then you torture a guy while saying it's a game, and when he gives you all this information you kill him by crushing his head. If that wasn't disturbing enough, you are actually laughing and making jokes about it like it's nothing. The girl screeched. She was wondering just what in the name of Kami would cause someone to be like this. For a second Naruto looked at her, then without warning he burst into a fit of laughter. He was rolling on the ground and holding his sides because he was laughing so hard. After he calmed down he wiped his eyes and stared at her. Are you serious? The smartest girl in the entire class has no idea why I am the way I am. Do you seriously not know what it is to be a ninja? Oh, that is just too funny, Naruto proclaimed, going into another fit of giggles. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Sakura exclaimed, obviously annoyed. I mean, ninja are expected to do this on a regular basis. If you want to survive in this world of shinobi, then you will be expected to kill, torture, and even seduce people, all for the sake of protecting the village and completing the mission, Naruto said with a grin. After seeing Sakura's shocked look he laughed once more. Did you really think this job would be easy? That you wouldn't have to do things like this? I am just simply making sure I stay alive, and that means showing no mercy, getting as much information I can get any way I can, and as for me laughing and making jokes here, he paused and grinned evilly at Sakura. You'll find out soon enough, unless of course you die during this mission, Naruto chuckled. Are you saying you'll do the mission? Tazuna asked. Does a bat fly in the dark? Of course I'm doing the mission. The chance to fight Zabuza is just too awesome to pass up, Naruto said with a giant grin. Besides, I don't like people like Gato. I hate people that use others and cause innocents to suffer. At this everyone stared at the blonde strangely. What? I may be considered evil and a nut, but I only kill and harm enemies, people who have wronged me and those who deserve it, Naruto said with a mock-hurt look. Then why did you nearly kill Sasuke-kun with that gun? And why would you always harm some of the other kids at school and insult me and Ino? Sakura demanded angrily. Naruto laughed, except this time it wasn't mocking or terrifying but genuine laughter. First off, Sasuke has insulted me on a regular basis and is an arrogant ass. Second, you and Ino have insulted me as well, and not only that, but both of you are shallow fangirls who need to grow up. And lastly, the only children I harmed were those who tried to hurt me and those who have insulted me. Besides, I even caused several bullies to actually stop being bullies, Naruto stated while giving both Sasuke and Sakura mocking grins. Well, what do you two think we should do? Move on with the mission or abandon it? Kakashi asked. Sasuke just grunted and gestured that he would go. Sakura immediately followed Sasuke's lead, despite her fear. Once again the team headed out for Wave. Next day, forest near a lake, 2 miles from Tazuna's home. Team 7 and Tazuna were currently walking down a path when Naruto suddenly tossed a kunai into the tree line with lightning reflexes. Investigating where he had thrown the thing, Naruto frowned upon seeing his kunai had killed a white rabbit by going through its neck. Naruto, what the hell? It was just an innocent rabbit, Sakura said, dismayed that such a cute creature had its life ended because of the paranoia of her teammate. Figures you'd be scared by a rabbit, Sasuke mocked. While the two were talking, both Genin failed to notice that a rather heavy mist was rolling in. Standing up, Naruto just sighed and pointed into the distance. Incoming, said the boy in a deadpan. Turning around, they immediately hit the dirt in fear as the giant sword barely missed slicing their heads off, well except for Naruto's, whose head simply rolled off his shoulders with his body following after. The blade landed with a thunk inside of a tree, the handle sticking out horizontally with a man appearing on said handle. He had black hair, no eyebrows or shirt, and a Kiri Nuke-Nin headband placed sideways on his head while the lower part of his face was wrapped in bandages, much like Kakashi's mask. He had black and gray camel pants, standard shinobi sandals, a black strap that went from shoulder to hip for his sword, and a pair of arm warmers that matched his pants. Everyone stared at this man in utter shock, while said man smirked to himself, confident that he had easily scared the civilian and genin with his murderous entrance while effectively putting their jounin on edge. Heh, one down and the only other threat is the jounin. This is gonna be easy though. The man. Just as he was about to speak, he was stopped by Sakura's screech. Naruto! Stop doing that! Confused, Zabuza turned to where she was screaming at and came face to face with a boy wearing black goggles leaning on him like some old friend. What's more is that Zabuza could have sworn this was the kid he decapitated with his sword not 5 minutes ago. But that should be impossible since he could clearly see the beheaded corpse of the kid still bleeding on the ground. Let's see. Here it is! Exclaimed the blonde, who was now reading out of what appeared to be a black book. Zabuza Momochi, aka the Demon of the Bloody Mist, former jounin of Kirigakure and member of the Seven Swordsmen. Listed as an A-rank Nuke-Nin with mastery of the silent killing technique and various water jutsus. Has approach with caution status, finished the boy while snapping the book closed and tucking it away. Gotta say I'm impressed, though I wonder why you're working for a guy like Gato, though I guess I shouldn't be complaining, finished the blonde with a maniac smile. Who the hell are you? Asked Zabuza, now thoroughly confused. Me? Well, I'm just your everyday run-of-the-mill psychotic genin, giggled Naruto. With that, Naruto smashed his fist straight into Zabuza's face, sending the nin flying. Giggling like a maniac, Naruto grabbed the sword under his feet, ripped it free and jumped after the form of Zabuza, screaming Nim Nim. Needless to say, the rest of Team 7 and Tazuna were terrified, amazed and embarrassed at the blonde's antics. Fucking sucker punch, Zabuza mumbled before his eyes widened and he barely avoided being cut in half by his own sword. Quickly, Zabuza kicked the genin away and retrieved his sword. Jumping away, Zabuza used his hidden mist jutsu to hide himself and reevaluate his plan. It's a good thing Haku is nearby should anything go wrong, but this kid is something else. Granted, I doubt he'd be able to beat me on his own, but this kid probably has plenty of aces up his sleeve. Better just take them out quickly, thought Zabuza. Meanwhile, Naruto and his team were surrounding Tazuna. Kakashi's Sharingan I revealed while Sasuke and Sakura were shaking from the killing intent. The only thing keeping them from killing themselves was Naruto's carefree attitude, and who was oddly singing something to himself. Suddenly Zabuza appeared in between everyone swinging his sword, intent on destroying them all in one swing, only to be blocked by Kakashi with a kunai and knocked away by Naruto as he sang out loud. When the cops show up they're gonna get the finger, and I don't give a fuck cause I'm the designated drinker. Naruto sang out as he laughed while everyone just stared as he pulled out a sake bottle and drained its contents. What the hell is wrong with that kid? Asked Zabuza, now completely disturbed by the kid. Trust me when I say you don't want to know, Kakashi said with some regret. With that the two engaged in combat, the only sign of where they were being the sparks and sounds of clashing metal. Hey Naruto-kun, Kyubi said, catching Naruto's attention away from the fight. Yeah, Vixen-chan? Asked Naruto mentally while taking a drink from another sake bottle. There's a girl sitting in the trees, something tells me she's working with the No-Brow Wonder, stated the fox. Yup, but let's wait and see what happens. I've got a plan for her if what I think happens, responded the blonde with a wicked grin. After some time both ninja appeared on top of the water, doing hand seals. As they finished, 2 water dragons burst from the lake and fought for dominance. After some time the jutsus burst in a large watery explosion, and when it cleared, it showed Kakashi trapped in a sphere of water. Guys, run! This guy is too strong for you! Kakashi shouted. Sorry sensei, can't let you die, you still owe me, Naruto called out. Ha! I'll admit you have skills, kid, but there isn't a thing you can do to me from there, Zabuza scoffed. True, stated Naruto with a smirk, but what about her? Asked the blonde as suddenly another Naruto appeared from the shadow of the first, only he had someone with him. The thing was revealed to be a girl with long black hair and wearing a battle kimono. Her hands were tied firmly behind her back and Naruto's gun against her head. Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise at this. He didn't expect Haku to be found, but once again this boy had surprised him. He didn't want to lose Haku, but he didn't want to give up. Please, I doubt you have the guts to do it. Even if you do, I'll just kill Kakashi, Zabuza stated. Zabuza, I don't even have to worry about killing her, cause sooner or later you'll run out of chakra and it will be child's play for us take you out, and the girl's life will be forfeit, Naruto said with a wolfish grin as Zabuza cursed. He was trapped, and he knew it. If Haku died, he'd be on his own and wouldn't even have the faintest hope of completing his mission without the girl. Besides, he loved the girl like a daughter and didn't want to see her die. Sighing, Zabuza glared at the blonde. What do you want, kid? Naruto smirked. First release Kakashi, then come over here cause I've got a proposition for you, called out the blonde. How do I know you won't all kill both of us as soon as I release Hataki? Zabuza called out. He may die, but he wouldn't be killed because of false promises. Because Hataki owes me, and if he does, I tell the Hokage everything, Naruto said with a smirk as Kakashi looked away in shame. As for Sakura, she's not a threat, and if Sasuke tries anything, well, suddenly another clone appeared out of Sasuke's shadow, the dagger from earlier tickling the Uchiha's throat. Naruto snickered as he continued, I doubt he'll try anything. Zabuza though for a moment, then released Kakashi as the two then approached shore. Soon both were standing in front of the blonde, Kakashi giving Naruto a small glare. What? Asked the blonde. Would you please remove your clone from Sasuke? Asked Kakashi as he saw Sasuke shaking slightly. No problem, Naruto answered as the clone poofed away. Sasuke sighed in relief and sent a glare at Naruto, who just shrugged his shoulders and turned back to Zabuza as his other clone released Haku. So what's this deal of yours, Gaki? Zabuza asked, ready to bolt should things turn sour. Simple, you help us get rid of Gato, then you come back to Konoha with us to become Leaf Ninja, Naruto stated as everyone got a shocked or confused look. Are you crazy, kid? I'm a missing nin, and not only that but a swordsman of the mist. As soon as Kiri finds out, they'll be calling for Konoha's blood, Zabuza stated while Naruto laughed. True, but we can fake your death, Zabuza. All I'll need is a dead corpse and some of your blood and boom. Instant dead, Zabuza, Naruto said happily. True, but what about when Kiri starts to hear about a man with Zabuza's sword, skin, hair, and face? They aren't as stupid as you are, Sasuke said with a smirk. Naruto just sighed. Sasuke, all we have to do is change Zabuza's wardrobe, last name, color his sword a different color, and besides, in case you didn't know, nearly every swordsman is either dead or a missing nin. Besides that, Konoha and Kiri don't exactly have a lot to do with each other, so the likelihood of anyone ever recognizing Zabuza would only be during the Chunin exams, and even then he would just not be able to be a proctor, and besides that, Zabuza was said to be the weakest of the 7 swordsmen, so as soon as we say he's dead, Kiri won't even care that there's a guy in Konoha who looks like him. Hell, the only reason Zabuza was even recognized was because both Kakashi and myself read the bingo books extensively, so as we aren't surprised on our missions away from the village, explained an annoyed Naruto. Everyone had to admit, it was a pretty foolproof plan. Besides that, Kiri was in the middle of a civil war, so him being in Konoha would be the last of their problems. Besides, it wasn't that unheard of for missing nins to join other villages. In fact, the only problem Kakashi could see with the plan would be to get the Hokage to agree. Good point, Naruto, but what about her? Asked Kakashi, pointing to the somewhat confused girl. No need to worry there, Kakashi. Haku was taught by me and isn't a ninja, so there is no real problem there. Besides, it would be for the best for Haku, Zabuza stated. Why's that? Asked Sakura. She has a bloodline, and right now, Kiri is trying to kill every single bloodline, which is the reason why I became a missing nin, Zabuza said as Haku looked down in sadness. Seriously? She has one? Asked Naruto as Haku thought that they would start to try killing her. Sheesh, Kiri is stupid. A bloodline is a pretty powerful weapon. Why would they want to get rid of them? Stated the blonde, causing Haku to look up in surprise. Zabuza shrugged. Beats me, kid. All I know is that I had no wish to serve a guy who would kill people for no real reason, but when my coup d'état failed I went rouge, stated the man. Well, as far as I can tell, Haku having a bloodline will just make it so Konoha treats her like a princess, stated Naruto, much to Haku's amazement and surprise. So do we have a deal? Asked Naruto as he held out his hand. Zabuza smirked beneath his bandages and grabbed the Jinchuriki's outstretched hand and shook it. You got it, kid, but if you screw me over, I'll chop you in half, declared the big man. Naruto smirked back at the man. Same to you, my friend. On that note, Team 7, Tazuna, Haku and Zabuza headed for Tazuna's home with said bridge builder, now wondering what the hell just happened. Oh, make. Kakashi had just defeated Zabuza and was now about to deal the death blow. Can that I see the future? Asked Zabuza. Yes, and yours is death, stated Kakashi calmly. Without warning, Zabuza hit the ground dead, with several sanbans sticking out of his neck. Suddenly, Haku appeared with her mask on. Thank you for we, she was cut off by Kakashi. What the hell, man? You just stole my kill, you jerk, Kakashi said in an annoyed tone. I did not, I just killed him when he was weak, stated Haku. No! You freaking stole my kill. You saw me about to kill him and did it yourself because you're a kill-taking ass, Kakashi accused. Haku scoffed. If it was your kill, You would have just killed him instead of being a show-off. Bang! Bang! Suddenly both Haku and Kakashi were dead as Naruto stood grinning with his gun smoking. What the hell, Naruto, you just killed our sensei! Sakura yelled at Naruto. He was being annoying, besides instead of bitching he should have just killed the chick, Naruto said with a shrug. That doesn't change the fact that you killed your own teammate. You can't just go around TKing people, Sakura lectured. Before she could finish, Sasuke appeared and killed her with his kunai. Thank God, fucking noob was getting annoying, stated Sasuke. Word, Tazuna agreed. Naruto watched in amusement from his perch in his tree as the Uchiha once again failed to climb the tree, while his fangirl once again cheered him on. He chuckled as he remembered the reactions of his teammates when they learned of the exercise and his mastery of it. Flashback. Okay team, today we're going to work on your chakra control, Kakashi said to his team who were gathered around him in a clearing about 20 minutes away from Tazuna's home. Haku and Zabuza were sitting in a tree a couple feet away. Well, Zabuza was in the tree reading Aika Aika Paradise while Haku sat at the base reading some medical books on the human body. So how are we going to do that, sensei? Asked an intrigued Sakura. Simple, we are going to climb trees, Kakashi said with a nice smile, while both Sasuke and Sakura sweat-wrapped at his statement. Naruto just picked his teeth absent-mindedly, completely disinterested with the topic. How is climbing trees going to help us with our chakra? Demanded an irate Sasuke. Naruto snorted and the Uchiha immediately rounded on him. What's so funny, dope? Nothing, Naruto said with a smile, while he waved his hand dismissively at the cold youth. Please sensei, continue with your explanation, the Uzumaki said with a grin. Thank you, Naruto. Anyway, Sasuke, can you climb a tree without using your hands? Asked Kakashi to a now interested Sasuke. But sensei, that's impossible, protested Sakura. Naruto snorted while Zabuza and Haku looked at the girl as if she had grown a second head. Kakashi just smiled and approached a tree. Stopping for a second, Kakashi made the ram seal and then proceeded to walk straight up the tree without the use of his hands. Sakura looked shell-shocked while Sasuke was clearly amazed. Naruto just smirked at his sensei, who was now hanging upside down from a tree branch. Perhaps a better word for this exercise would be called tree walking, or another name is surface clinging, Kakashi told his students with an eye smile. Zabuza rolled his eyes at the man and went back to reading his book. The goal is to send chakra to your feet and use it to cling to the tree, Kakashi directed while throwing a kunai at each one of his students' feet. Use those to mark your progress as you go along. Also, I suggest you get a running start, Kakashi instructed. Immediately both Sakura and Sasuke grabbed the kunai, concentrated, then made a mad dash for their respective tree. Naruto meanwhile looked at the kunai and just shrugged before slowly walking towards his tree. Sasuke was about 5 feet up the tree before it gave a loud crack and he was thrown off, though he was able to make a mark before he fell. Looking up, he saw a shallow crater the size of his foot on the tree near his mark and mentally cursed. If I use too much chakra I just get thrown off, but if I use too little, $5 says I land on my ass, Sasuke thought. Suddenly he was broken from his thoughts when he heard a joyful cry from Konoha's pink banshee. This is easy, Sakura called. She was sitting on a branch halfway up the tree, her kunai stuck in the main part right next to her. Beat that Ino pig. Sasuke will be mine in no time, Sakura thought triumphantly and looked down at her crush expecting to see some form of awe. Instead she saw a look of barely controlled annoyance on his face. It seems the only female on the team has the best chakra control, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Sakura got a look of confidence on her face and looked over to see how her other teammate was doing. She was surprised to see him just standing there looking at the tree, absent-mindedly twirling a kunai in his hand. Kakashi also noticed this and asked, Naruto, anything wrong? Called out the Chunin. He's probably just too stupid to figure out how to do it, Sasuke jeered. Sakura laughed a little at that, and was about to agree when Naruto did something that made everybody's jaw drop. There was Naruto, walking up the tree and taking his sweet time doing it. While this was impressive for a genin, what was more impressive is that he wasn't just walking, he was doing that while he was balancing a kunai on his nose and each hand as he did it. What really amazed everyone though was that each kunai was ramrod straight, and he showed absolutely no problem doing it. Using his Sharingan, Kakashi saw that he was using chakra to do it all. Although there were some small influxes and the kunai would waver sometimes, Naruto would immediately rectify it and kept his chakra flow steady. After some time Naruto reached the top of the tree, nearly 20 feet off the ground, and casually flicked the kunai in each of his hands away and just shook the last one off his face like a dog. Clapping his hands together in a satisfied manner, Naruto jumped off the tree and landed on the ground below with a soft thud, chakra cushioning his fall. Now what was that about being too stupid? Dobe? Naruto asked Sasuke mockingly, a toothy grin on his face seeming to scream false innocence. Needless to say, Sasuke had been pissed, not only at being outdone by a clan-less orphan but as well as being called a dead last. Sasuke then threw himself at the exercise with new determination, vowing he would make Naruto pay for showing up in Uchiha. Flashback end. As fun as it is to watch the Avenger fall out of a tree again and again, don't you think you should do some training of your own? Kyuubi suggested to her mate as she laughed at the Uchiha boy. Oh, I suppose you're right, my dear, but there's just something about watching an arrogant spoiled brat struggle to achieve something that isn't just handed to him that's just so deliciously amusing, Naruto replied. True, but remember Naruto, we still need to defeat that snake and you aren't at his level just yet. Even with my chakra you can only control one tail and after that you're smoke, Kyuubi reminded. Alright, just remind me again why I'm training without using your chakra, Naruto asked. Because of several reasons. 1. While most of my chakra has melded with yours, the process isn't complete, and it will do more harm to you than good in a prolonged fight. Naruto grimaced as he remembered when he used the fox's chakra for longer than an hour. He had spent the rest of the day knocked out cold and woke up with every cell in his body feeling like it had been set on fire, and that wasn't even using one tail, Naruto noted. Second, Orochimaru was teammates with Jiraiya and we have to assume that he has a way to seal off your chakra and in effect mine as well. Finally, you can't always rely on my chakra. What would you do if someone found a way to cut off your Yuki when you become a Hanyu? Every shinobi needs a fallback and a surprise, Kyuubi said in a lecturing tone. Fine, what do you suggest we work on then? I still have to work on my project, and I'd rather it be tested before the Chunin exams, Naruto replied. Why not just use the villagers? It's worked before, Kyuubi replied. Because the villagers are starting to understand not to approach me, even when they're drunk, and I'd rather not go after them and have to deal with the council. I barely avoid them with the self-defense excuse. Besides, I'd rather not just test my things on them for no real reason. Makes me feel too much like Orochimaru, Naruto replied with a slightly disgusted look. Kyuubi nodded at that. Then I suggest you work on your ninjutsu and shadow manipulation. Alala says you need to work on your fire and earth techniques so you can fight better with her and the rest of the pack. Also, you really need to utilize the shadows for more than hiding, transporting and storage. Nothing beats the look on a person's face when they realize they've been stabbed by their own shadow, Kyuubi instructed her container. Mentally nodding at her, Naruto created 29 shadow clones. I need 10 of you to work on the fireball technique, while the another 10 work on the mole technique. The rest of you help me with using the shadows in combat, ordered the original. All 29 of them gave a salute, and 20 rushed off to practice the jutsu till they used up their reserves. Now left with the other 9 Narutos, the original and his copies started to manipulate the shadows into weapons and shields. Needless to say, it wasn't very easy. One clone created a wall of shadow that was made to block projectiles, but that proved to be ineffective since the shadow only slowed the projectiles down. Another tried to use them as projectiles, but that proved useless, since the shadows literally couldn't leave the ground or the user's body. However, he did manage to send a kind of shadow whip from his hand. The biggest blunder was when one tried to create a sword out of them. All that happened when he tested it was that it left the shallowest of cuts, not even deep enough to draw a trickle of blood or dispel a clone. Gah! This is stupid! Shouted one of the 4 remaining clones. Fucking shadows are only good for making a quick escape, and those damn techniques Denara use, and even then all we can do is hold somebody still or suffocate them with it. And that just wastes chakra and leaves you open for punishment. Finished the clone with a pout. Relax, Ichi, 1, at least we're getting somewhere, chirped an excited clone to the first one's left. Like where, San, 3? Snorted Ichi. All we've done is make a failed shield and a sword that couldn't even dispel an eye, too, declared the clone while he jabbed a thumb behind him towards a lazy clone. The only decent thing we've made is a whip. And I don't think our enemies are looking to get kinky. Ichi practically shouted. Why is it that of all the abnormalities of a shadow clone, you had to be the one whose primary emotion is anger? Sighed another clone while rubbing his temples. At least I have emotion, sure, 4. Shot back Ichi. The original turned towards the other 2 clones and noticed that they were just sitting there watching the 2 argue. One seemed incredibly interested while the other just seemed bored. Let me guess, San, your curiosity and Ni is lazy? Inquired the true Naruto. At that the lazy Ni just nodded while San turned to answer. Yup, so what do you think, boss? I believe that we're overlooking something obvious since Kyuubi said she's seen people impaled on their own shadows, San said excitedly. Without warning, Sure appeared right in front of San. Say that again, he demanded with a serious expression to a very surprised San. Cocking his head to the side and backing up a bit, San asked, Say what again? I think we're overlooking something? No after that, stated Sure as everyone watched in some confusion. QB has seen people impaled on their own shadows before? San offered. There was a pause as Sure slowly digested this information when the proverbial light bulb went off. Of ours. It's so simple. San, you're a genius! Sure cried in triumph. What the hell are you screeching about? You sounded like the pink-haired banshee when she got a piece of hair from Mr. Brody's duck-ass locks. Itchy shouted while trying to get his hearing back. Shut up, Itchy. Now, as for why I did that, I have just figured out how to use the shadows in combat. Sure stated proudly. Now he had the attention of everyone, and they were eager to hear how. So how do we use them in combat? Naruto asked his logical clone. Simple, boss. For the most part we have tried using the shadow as a sword, which didn't work at all, then as a shield, which killed one clone, then we lost another for it due to Knee's whip, which, Itchy, can actually prove to be quite useful, Sure lectured his angry counterpart. Itchy just rolled his eyes and gave Sure the one-finger salute. Ignoring Itchy, Sure continued, for the most part we just used the shadow as a blunt and cutting tool, when it's better used as a piercing weapon, he exclaimed. The original facepalmed while the curious clone laughed at the sheer simplicity of it. And I just shrugged and turned back to watching the clouds while Itchy just had a blank look. What exactly does that mean? Itchy asked while the other three stared at him as if he was insane except for an eye. An eye sighed. It means we use the shadows like spears and spikes, not as swords, but I'm pretty sure if you infuse some wind chakra into the shadow swords they'll cut deeper, and there is a way to make that shield a lot more effective, stated the lazy clone without looking up from his cloud watching. This time, Sure and the original had flabbergasted looks on their faces while Itchy got a look of understanding on his face. How would you make the shield better? San asked an eye. Troublesome, muttered an eye. Just watch, he ordered as he got up. Using the shadow of a nearby tree, he created a portal on its trunk but didn't enter it. Then using his own shadow and bringing it up to him, he flung a kunai into it. About a second later, the same kunai flew out of the shadow portal on the tree's trunk and nailed itself into another tree a couple yards away. Turning back to the others he said, "Get it?" The Narutos just nodded in amazement at the, once again, simple solution. Good, and with that he promptly dispelled himself. I think that will do for today, said the original as he dispelled all his clones. Wincing a bit from the information, Naruto looked up and noticed that it was getting close to dinner. Making a note to himself to work on his project afterwards, the dead-haired blonde headed back to Tazuna's home, his mind already buzzing with the various methods of killing and torture he now could do, and all with a simple mental command and, if at most, a flick of the wrist. He chuckled darkly. The future promised to be very entertaining for our little psychopath. Tazuna's home, dinner. Team 7 were seated around the table along with Zabuza, Haku and of course, Tazuna's family. Dinner was a simple meal of fish, rice, and some vegetable stir-fry. For the most part everyone was having a nice time, just making small talk. Even Naruto was having a good time, occasionally answering the question thrown his way or adding in his comment, but for the majority of it he just basked in the warmth of this feeling of contentment. So Sasuke, how far have you gone on the tree? Kakashi asked, trying to make the brooding Avenger come out of his perpetual dark mood. I'm nearly at the top. By tomorrow I'll have it done, Sasuke stated simply. Good, then you'll be able to work with Sakura on water walking. Kakashi smiled as he turned to his female student. Speaking of the water walking, how are you coming along, Sakura? It's really hard, sensei, but I've nearly got it mastered, she said with confidence. Sakura had come a ways from the academy. Granted, she still didn't have much going for her besides book smarts, but her skills were coming along smoothly. All of them were nearly up to high genin level, but she still needed some jutsus other than the academy basics. Kakashi smiled at his student. What about you, Naruto? Need any help with anything? Kakashi asked his black-clad student. Naruto smirked at the man. He knew Kakashi was trying to make amends, but he wasn't going to forgive Kakashi just yet. Not really, sensei. All I need are some test subjects, and I'm sure Gato's men will be more than willing to volunteer, Naruto said with a dark chuckle. It doesn't matter, shouted Inari, now completely fed up with these ninja and their carefree attitudes. You're all going to die no matter how hard you try. Gato will kill you like he did every other person that stood up to him, cried the young boy. Everybody was shocked at the quiet boy's sudden outburst, well, everybody except a certain maniac. Yes, Big Bad Gato will kill 6 trained shinobi, no offense Pipsqueak, but just because you, a boy whose spirit is as broken as the rest of this village, couldn't beat him doesn't mean we can't, Naruto said with a dismissive wave. Angered at the blonde, Inari said, Shut up. What do you know of our pain? What do you know of what life is like here? You've had it easy in that big village while we've had to slowly starve and die. What do any of you know about suffering? Inari accused, tears in his eyes. At that, Naruto froze and stared at the boy. Really? I know nothing of suffering? Asked Naruto with a smile that unnerved everyone deeply as killing intent started to slowly leak off of him. Allow me to tell you a little story, Inari. The temperature started to drop and Inari started to get the feeling that he should run, but he couldn't move. He could only sit there and listen to whatever story that Naruto wished to tell. A little longer than 14 years ago, a child was born, but both of his parents had died. One from childbirth, and the other died in combat. Both of them were highly respected and dedicated shinobi of Konoha, but for some reason everyone hated and feared the child of these ninja. Naruto paused for a second, his smile disappearing. Before the child could talk, it had more assassination attempts on its life than a daimyo, and once the babe reached the age of 3, it was thrown from the orphanage. He chuckled a bit, not that the babe cared too much, for the matrons would always frown upon the child and scold it for no reason. They gave it the worst place to sleep, hardly any food, and all the other children would be mean to it, never allowing that child to play with them, an act the adults encouraged. Regardless, after the child was thrown out, not minutes later a mob attacked him, shouting words such as demon, fox brat, and other such insults. Of course the child ran. It was not the first time it had been chased by a mob, but it was the first time it got caught, Naruto said darkly. They beat the child, then they stabbed it, hit it with various blunt objects such as sticks, pipes, hammers, and so on. There were ninja in that mob, so the child felt the pain of being hit with kunai and shuriken long before it would begin the academy for shinobi. They even used jutsus on him, but the most painful was when it got burned by a fire one. Here Naruto's smile came back, but it was anything but happy. The child screamed as its body caught on fire, the flames licking away at his skin ever so slowly. It begged for help, for them to stop, but they only said it was what it deserved for what it did to them. Soon the poor youngling was left alone in the alley, the flames long since extinguished. Yet now, the question of why was placed in its mind. Why was it so hated? Why did people hurt it? Why was it forced to be alone? Naruto asked the last part quietly. For a moment the killing intent evaporated and the temperature went back to normal. Then it came back again as a manic smile appeared on Naruto's face, but then that night happened. It was only 6 years old when the villagers finally shattered its mind. They had pinned it to the wall, a kunai through each hand, when a silver-haired Chunin stepped forward and plunged another kunai into its heart. In that moment it did die, just not in the way you would think. They broke its mind, left nothing but a husk of anguish and insanity that killed them all. It slaughtered them, no, it butchered them and laughed throughout the entire affair. After finally exhausting itself from killing its tormentors it fell asleep, and in its endless nightmares it found out the reason it was hated. Pausing, the blonde took off his goggles but kept his eyes shut tight, a deep frown upon his face. It had a demon sealed inside of it. The village hated, hunted and shunned it simply because they couldn't tell the difference between a kunai and its holster. Naruto snapped his eyes open and gave a maniacal grin, his dead ice blue eyes glinting with that ever-present spark of insanity. Now can you guess who that child was, Inari? Naruto asked, his eyes boring into Inari's, making him shake in terror. Why you? Inari stammered, now extremely terrified. Ding ding ding! Give the boy a cigar! Naruto cackled, making everyone shudder fearfully. I was in fact that child, and I do have a demon sealed in me. I have to endure the hatred of the villagers day in and day out, except now it's more like fear than hatred, Naruto giggled. I suffered because of something I had no control over, so shut your fucking mouth, you insolent gaki. You know nothing of suffering. Naruto snarled at the child, the ki now reaching unbelievable levels, making even Zabuza and Kakashi shake in fear. You have everything I and many others have ever wanted. A home, food, people who care about you, and yet here you are, bitching and moaning because your father died trying to save you all. Instead of honoring his death, all of you have just rolled over and accepted death with only your grandfather trying to save this place. If you had truly loved that man you called father, you would be doing whatever you could to carry out his mission to save this place, not sitting here and spitting at his memory. So grow up, dry your eyes and grow a pair, because if I ever hear you whining about your fate again, I'll feed you to my hyenas and use whatever is left over as a paperweight. Naruto threatened. With that, the broken youth gave a mad laugh and disappeared into the shadows. When the killing intent finally released and the room returned to regular temperature, Inari passed out. After Tsunami put Inari in his room, Zabuza turned to Kakashi and asked, "Is that true?" Sighing, Kakashi gave a nod. Yes, every word of that is true. Because of the demon inside him, the villagers and some ninja would do anything they could to make what they believed to be the monster incarnate suffer. They would beat, stab, slash, burn, and whatever else they could do to try and kill him. Even when he went to the hospital, they hardly ever treated him, and when they did the most minimalistic of things, hoping that the demon would finally die. Kakashi replied with a lost look in his eye. Naruto has experienced things that not even I would be able to stand, all because people couldn't see the child that just wanted acceptance, Kakashi said with a voice laden with regret. So that's why he's like that. That's why he's so, Sakura asked, trying to find the right word. Sadistic? Insane? Broken? Take your pick, Sakura. I'm just surprised that he hasn't killed everyone, Kakashi replied dismally. Because if I did, then what would be the point? I just proved to the entire world that I'm a monster. Besides, I don't want to kill everyone in the village, just a large portion of it. Cackled the voice of Naruto, making everyone leap away in fear. Damn it, Naruto, don't do that! Sakura screamed at the blonde, who was now grinning madly at them, his goggles back in place over his eyes. She noticed that only Naruto's body from the waist up was normal, the rest of him vanished into a black mass on the floor. Actually, I'm not Naruto, I'm a clone he sent to watch over Gato's movements. Did you know Gato has about several hundred slaves at his compound? I find it odd that most of them are scantily clad women, mused the clone before it shrugged nonchalantly. Anyway, boss wanted me to tell you that Gato plans on attacking the bridge personally with about 200 mercenaries. Regardless, the attack will happen the morning of the day after tomorrow, so you might want to tell the workers to stay away from the bridge, Naruto informed. With that, the clone disappeared in a poof of smoke, the smoke eerily forming a smile before vanishing. Zabuza-sama, Haku started, gaining everyone's attention. If you ever piss that boy off, you're on your own, she finished. Zabuza nodded at that. Trust me, Haku, when we get to Konoha, I'm making damn sure I stay on his good side, stated the demon of the bloody mist. On that note, everyone headed to bed, wondering where Naruto had gone. Unknown location, chemical lab. Naruto smirked as he stared at the luminescent sickly yellow fluid in the test tube, the light produced by it glinting eerily off his goggles. Naruto gave a chuckle as he eyed his new toy. You and me are going to have a lot of fun together, Naruto whispered to the liquid as a predatory grin consumed his features. Next day. Naruto was sitting next to Zabuza watching as Sasuke and Sakura practiced water walking. A small cough catching his attention, he turned to see a very timid-looking Inari behind him. Naruto, I just wanted to, Inari tried to say before Naruto brought up a hand and cut him off. Kid, if you're going to apologize, then I'll only accept it on one condition, Naruto stated. Curious, Inari asked what condition. Smirking, Naruto said, I want you to stop crying, and honor your father's memory, the Uzumaki declared with a small smile, not one of malice or mockery, but just a simple smile. How do I do that? Inari asked. Naruto chuckled at the boy and just ruffled his hair. You'll find out sooner or later, unless you're denser than concrete, Naruto said teasingly. Inari smiled a bit at that and sat down next to the Uzumaki and swordsman to watch the two genin attempt to water walk. After about an hour had passed, Kakashi appeared. Alright, you two, take an hour break, then we'll start up again, Kakashi ordered his students, his nose buried in his book. Sakura gave a relieved sigh and collapsed on the shore while Sasuke just grunted and walked towards Naruto's position. Naruto sighed as he watched the Uchiha approach him, an action that didn't go unnoticed by Zabuza or Inari. What's wrong, kid? Asked the swordsman, the look in Inari's eyes mirroring the demon's question. Just watch, and Zabu, you may want to keep your eye on him when he's near Haku, the blonde said in a bored tone as he produced a knife from his sleeve and proceeded to flip it in his hand. Finally, the Uchiha halted in front of the three, and regarded them as if they were barely above vermin. Dobe, fight me, demanded Sasuke. Naruto just quirked an eyebrow at the Uchiha and sighed. What are the terms? He asked lazily, catching the knife so the blade was gripped between his thumb and index and middle finger. A bit surprised, the Uchiha got a smug smirk and said, You choose, give yourself whatever handicap you need. Suddenly Naruto got a sadistic smile on his face and Sasuke immediately wished he hadn't let the blonde choose the arrangements for the battle. Alright then, my duck-assed opponent, here are the rules, Naruto declared, ignoring the scowl Sasuke sent him. We fight till first blood, meaning whoever bleeds first loses. Also, neither of us can use kunai, shuriken, daggers or ninja wire. Other than that, anything goes, said the blonde with a smirk. Fine then, Sasuke spat as he got into a ready position while Naruto stood up. Noticing the fight, Sakura, Kakashi and the newly arrived Haku sat down to watch the spar. First move goes to you, my friend, Naruto said as he bowed low, a devious smirk hidden from the Uchiha's view. Snorting, Sasuke charged the blonde, confident that victory was in the bag. Naruto just leaned to the left, half his body now a shadow, easily dodging the Uchiha's downward strike. Growling, Sasuke followed up his attack with a rising right knee strike, but once again Naruto dodged by turning his upper body completely horizontal, a feat that should have been impossible without leaving the ground. Somehow though, Naruto did it, the shadowy mass that was his waist down never leaving Earth. So it went, Sasuke would strike and Naruto would dodge easily, bending his body in astounding ways. Would you hold still and fight already? Sasuke demanded, breathing a little heavily from the effort of trying to land a hit on the blonde. Tempting offer, but I rather like the workout, Naruto grinned. Snarling in anger, Sasuke leapt back and began doing hand seals at a rapid pace. Finishing, Sasuke formed a ring around his mouth and exhaled a giant fireball from his lips. As the flames consumed his teammate, Sasuke smirked, confident he'd defeated his teammate. As the flames disappeared, Sasuke looked to see what the effect of his technique had done to Naruto. He smirked as he saw what seemed to be the charred remains of a human corpse. "Did you hit me?" asked a voice directly behind Sasuke, causing said boy to whirl around to face the toothy grin of one Naruto Uzumaki. Leaping back, the Uchiha glared at the boy who didn't seem to have a scratch on him, not even a speck of soot. "How the hell did you dodge that?" Sasuke demanded, a hint of fear in his voice. "Ah, poor little Sasuke still lives in the dark," Naruto said in a voice dripping with false pity. "Seems you still don't understand anything," the blonde said disapprovingly. "And what do you know, outcast?" Sasuke snarled, now thoroughly annoyed with the Uzumaki. Naruto chuckled at him, making a cold chill run down the black-haired youth's spine. "I know a lot, Sasuke. I know that in the last moments of people's lives, they show their true selves. Want to know how many were cowards?" Naruto asked with a snicker. "I know that the crippled hawk only fools the monkey with his charade of disability. I know why the guardian attacked her charge, and I know what the leaf has hidden from the maelstrom," Naruto answered cryptically. "What the hell are you talking about, you insane freak?" Sasuke said as he swung at the blonde with a roundhouse kick. Naruto caught the leg and laughed. "Fine then, Sasuke, allow me to tell you something I'm sure you'll love to know." Suddenly Naruto's mouth appeared right next to Sasuke's ear and whispered, "I know the real reason why your family was murdered by Itachi, for he was nothing more than the pawn, the hired gun, the puppet." Shell-shocked, Sasuke froze. Naruto laughed, and sent a shadow spike at the black-haired boy, it barely missing his head and causing blood to trickle down the boy's cheek. "I believe this match is mine, Sasuke," Naruto declared simply, straightening up and walking away, leaving behind a group of very confused people. As the blonde left, Sasuke's shock started to turn to fear. How does he know, thought the Uchiha. Next day, at the bridge, early morning. A small man wearing a pinstripe suit and a gold-topped ebony wooden cane stood in the mist. He peered over his sunglasses at the mob behind him and smirked. "Today that bridge builder dies and wave will become mine," thought the pudgy midget known as Gato. Currently he was standing on the nearly completed bridge with an army of mercenaries behind him, just waiting for the bridge builder, his workers and bodyguards to show up. Slowly the clap of boots meeting concrete met the ears of everyone and a figure emerged from the mist. Once it stopped, the figure was revealed to be a person in a black trench coat with blonde hair and goggles. Gato stared at the figure, who smiled back. "Hello Gato, I'm here to kill you," said the black-clad teen in a pleasant voice. Gato quirked an eyebrow and burst out laughing at the teenager in front of him, soon followed by the guffaws of his mercenaries. "You're going to kill me?" Gato laughed. "You're just a single brat. What the hell can you do?" They continued to laugh at the boy even as the mist seemed to get thicker than before. Naruto smirked and shook his head at the man. "You honestly think I'm alone? Trust me, while it would be easy for me to eradicate you and your bunch, quite a bit of people have a bone to pick with you, Gato." As he finished speaking, two more figures emerged from the mist. The figures were none other than Zabuza, Momochi, and Haku. "Hello Gato," Zabuza said coldly. "Zabuza? How the hell are you alive? I was sure those leaf nians killed you," Gato shouted in surprise. "We found a better deal, and that deal involves removing you," Haku said simply. Gato growled at that, but he wasn't too worried. "So what? Not even the three of you together can take down my army?" Gato snorted. "Oh?" asked Naruto. "Then allow me to introduce my army." With that, the mist cleared, revealing every single villager of Wave armed with whatever they could get their hands on, ranging from farming tools to kitchen knives to pipes and sticks. Every one of them had a very pissed expression on their face. The mercs unconsciously took a step back at the sight as Gato started to panic a bit. While the businessman was confident his men could eradicate the three shinobi, he wasn't too sure that his army could take on an entire village and three shinobi. Still, Gato was stubborn and he refused to be beaten. "Ha! I'll give an extra 1,000 ryo to the one who brings me the brat's head. Try and keep the women alive, boys, so we can celebrate our victory later tonight," Gato called out. The mercs roared in approval and started to charge. "Time to test my project," Naruto laughed as he revealed his hands, or rather he revealed his right hand. On his right hand was a specially modeled glove that instead of regular fingers, each finger including the thumb was crafted into a syringe with an inch-long needle, each finger filled with that eerie yellow fluid Naruto had created that night a few days prior. Laughing madly, the boy plunged his new device into a merc's chest. Not seconds later the man's eyes grew wide and a look of horror overcame his face. "No! Get them away from me!" he screamed and immediately started swatting at himself, as if trying to get something off of him. Soon the man was nothing but a frantic mess, wildly running around in fear, even knocking into his own allies. Suddenly, the merc gripped his sword and started swinging randomly, trying to kill something that wasn't there, and even harming some of his own allies. "I do believe my fear toxin works quite well," Naruto said with a maniacal grin to himself. "Then again the scientific method says to repeat the process," he cackled, once again jumping into the fray. Gato had long since retreated to the back of the pack and was now watching in horror, as every one of his thugs was viciously and mercilessly killed. They dropped like flies to the speed and accuracy of Haku, were cleaved in half by Zabuza who would appear then vanish only to do it once more, and how they were just decimated by the angry villagers. What scared him the most was the blonde, how he would appear out of nowhere like Zabuza, stab his men then leave behind now frantic and hysterical mercenaries, all screaming and running around in terror. Now the blonde was causing his men to flee in terror, and was now shooting them with a purple revolver, laughing like a lunatic. Gato knew he had lost, and he knew if he didn't escape now he was going to be visiting the Shinigami very soon. So Gato tried to run, only to bump into the very last thing he wanted to bump into. Slowly looking up, Gato came face to face with none other than Naruto Uzumaki. "Hello, my pudgy little friend, were you planning on going somewhere?" asked the boy in a pleasant voice. "Look, I'll give you anything you want if you let me go," Gato said quickly, not really wanting to die. Naruto just got a grin on his face and lifted his gun, the barrel taking up most of Gato's vision. Naruto pulled the trigger and Gato screamed in fear, his eyes shut tight. Feeling no pain, Gato opened his eyes to see what happened and was met facing the gun again, only this time, there was a banner with the word "bang" on it. Naruto laughed at the tycoon's face and said, "So if I let you go you'll give me anything I want?" Naruto asked with a malicious smirk. Gato smiled to himself and said, "You got it, kid, so what do you want? Money? Women? Land? Name it and it's yours." Naruto chuckled in his throat and pointed the banner between Gato's eyes. "I want your life," Naruto stated. Before Gato could ask what he meant, Naruto pulled the trigger once again. Immediately the banner flew straight in Gato's head, piercing his skull and puncturing his brain, resulting in instant death. As Gato's corpse fell to the floor, a banner stood proudly from his forehead like a flag with the words "HAHA" imprinted on it. Naruto smirked at the body of the tyrant. Bye Gato, say hi to Mizuki and the other villagers for me," laughed the blonde as he set out to get rid of the remaining mercs. Today, Wave was finally free, and the future looked promising. Team 7 along with Haku and Zabuza were finally going home. The bridge had taken a few weeks to actually be finished building, and when it was finished they named the bridge the Great Naruto Bridge in honor of the hero who had brought hope and freedom back to Wave. Kakashi was actually pretty pleased and very disappointed in Sasuke and Sakura when they protested the name, and actually wished it to be called the Great Uchiha Bridge. They were swiftly silenced though by Naruto's challenge. The challenge was a 2-on-1 battle royal, and everything goes. Needless to say, when Naruto pulled on his fear toxin glove, the two quickly agreed to the name of the bridge. Currently, the group was walking along the path at a civilian pace when they got within 15 miles of Konoha and would be there around 2 in the afternoon. They were walking in silence when Sasuke broke the silence. "What the hell was that weapon you used on the bridge, loser?" the last Uchiha demanded. That glove had been eating away at his mind ever since he saw it, and he finally couldn't take not knowing anymore. Naruto just smirked at the Uchiha. "And why should I tell you, Sasuke? Because if you're planning on using it, you'd only be able to use it on about 3 more people, one if they had strong willpower," Naruto stated. "Shut up and tell him, Naruto Baka. You should be honored to give something like that to someone as important as Sasuke-kun," Sakura shouted. This action caused Kakashi to sigh while Zabuza and Haku thought how the hell either one of these two became genin. The Uchiha obviously couldn't really work with a team, and the girl was too obsessed with Sasuke to actually work on her ninja skills unless told to by her sensei. "Actually, Naruto, I'd also like to know about that weapon if it's not too much trouble. Besides, I'll need to at least know what you're calling it for my report," Kakashi asked in a much politer tone. "Oh, if you must know, then allow me to explain," Naruto said in a mock defeat voice while pulling out the same glove from before, the liquid in the syringes glowing eerily, though like Naruto said, there wasn't much of the fear toxin left. The glove itself is nothing much, just syringes in the fingers with longer than normal needles. However, the stuff in the syringes is another matter altogether, the blonde said with an eerie smile. What is in the gloves? Haku asked with some small fear. Inside, my dear, is a special concoction that reacts to the pheromones in a person's body. Once in the body, the chemicals cause mass hysteria or fear within the target, effectively making them hallucinate, thinking that they are experiencing their biggest fears, Naruto answered with an impish grin. Each phobia depends on the person themselves. Take Sasuke for example. If I were to enter this into his bloodstream, he could experience being raped by his fangirls, Itachi killing his family again, or realize he is the weakest of weak. Sasuke looked both angered and afraid at that statement. Angered at the accusations, but afraid at his teammate's claim, but being Sasuke, he refused to believe that his teammate actually created something like that. There is no way you made something like that, Sasuke stated with a sneer, Sakura nodding in agreement. Correct, Sasuke, I didn't create fear toxin. The creator of this little beauty was a man by the name of Tsuru, an ANBU to be exact. Tsuru was also known as Kyufushu, morbid fear. Using his notes, I was able to recreate his fear toxin, the thing that gave him his name. Kakashi's eyes widened at that. You found Kyufushu's notes? Exclaimed the one-eyed Nin. Ever since Tsuru died, countless people have searched everywhere for notes on his techniques, but no one had found anything. Hell, Ibiki had even turned the village upside down and spent the equivalent of 3 A-rank mission pays for just one scrap of information that he could use for his interrogations. Naruto smirked. Yes, I did. I actually found his lab and notes on accident one night when roaming my home. I even found a journal of his that he kept since he was an academy student all the way up to his death. Apparently when he was younger, he was constantly bullied for his various fears. One day he had enough and vowed to find out what caused fear and how to kill his own fears. In the end, he feared nothing, but everyone feared him. As he finished, Naruto had a thoughtful look on his face, then just shrugged it off and kept walking. Okay, that makes sense, but why exactly do you have it, kid? From what I've seen, adding that fear toxin just seems like overkill, Zabuza stated. Turning, Naruto gave a wolfish grin and said, while that may seem true to you, I am absolutely horrible with genjutsu, can't make one to save my life, nor can I break any over B rank. However, with fear toxin I have the perfect tool for making and dispelling genjutsu. Here Naruto got a very insane grin. I can see how it works for making genjutsu, but how exactly does it dispel genjutsu? Haku asked. She had to admit, the fear toxin was probably better than genjutsu simply because it couldn't be dispelled by chakra, but she failed to see how it could dispel genjutsu. Easy, most genjutsu rely on messing with an opponent's mind and chakra. Thanks to my research on my first subject coupled with Tsuru's own notes on the theory, I have found that when constantly exposed to the toxin, the target soon builds up an immunity to it along with a higher resistance to genjutsu, Naruto said with an innocent smirk. Who was your first subject? Sakura asked. Naruto gave a low chuckle and turned to her with a small smile and head tilted to the side. Who better to test it on than myself? He asked with a finger pointing at himself. Everyone got a shocked and uneasy look at that statement, and continued their trek in silence with Naruto leading the way. As they walked, they wondered just what went on in that head of his, because whatever it was more fucked up than Orochimaru's obsession with little boys and immortality. Konoha, outside the Hokage Tower. Team 7 and company had finally made it to the tower, and made their report to the Hokage. Zabuza and Haku would be on probation for about a month or so, with Zabuza helping in the Chunin exams and Haku working as an intern at the hospital. They were about to leave when a voice stopped them in their tracks. Yash! Kakashi, my eternal rival! Shouted the voice, making Kakashi shiver in dread. Dear Kami, please not him. Not now, not here, thought the silver-haired Nin as he turned to face the voice. There in all his green spandex jumpsuit, wearing glory, was the bane of Kakashi's existence. Ah, my eternal rival! How burn your flames of youth? The man asked with a cheesy smile and loud voice. He was wearing a green jumpsuit, orange legwarmers, standard shinobi sandals, and an unzipped Jounin flak jacket. Around his waist he wore his headband like a belt with red cloth, yet despite everything, that wasn't what freaked most of the group out. What freaked everyone out, minus Kakashi who has seen it, and Naruto because he's not disturbed or scared of anything really, was the man's perfect black bowl-cut hair and super bushy black eyebrows. HM? You say something, guy? Kakashi asked uncaringly, hoping beyond hope he would just leave without issuing one of his challenges. ARRG! Curse you and your hip attitude, Kakashi! Guy exclaimed with anime tears and shaking his fist in the air. I will show you that my flames of youth are more powerful than your hip attitude. It was at this point that two more people came up behind the strange man. The one on the left of the man was a girl with black hair done into 2 Chinese buns on her head, making her look like a panda. She also had light skin and chocolate brown eyes. She was wearing a Chinese-styled sleeveless pink blouse and baggy dark green pants with standard blue shinobi sandals and kunai holster on her right leg. I swear I've seen that hairstyle before, Naruto thought as he searched through his memories. Slowly he started to smile as he remembered the girl in front of him. Ah yes, Tenten. She is about 1 year older than us and, if I remember correctly, an orphan, thought the blonde as he remembered past experiences with the girl. Oh yes, Naruto definitely remembered her. Next to Tenten was a boy that was undoubtedly a Hyuga, due to his pupil-less white eyes, very pale skin, long black hair that reached mid-back and cold stoic attitude. Seriously, what is it with all Hyuga acting as if they have an icicle shoved up their asses? Would it kill them to smile? Well, maybe if Naruto was the one making the jokes. He was wearing a khaki shirt, bandages on his right arm and left leg, dark brown shorts, same sandals as Tenten, kunai holster on right leg, and a black Konoha headband that fit snugly around his forehead and kept his hair out of his ever-cold face. Guy-sensei, who exactly is this guy, and why are you calling him your eternal rival? Tenten asked as she eyed the people across from her with a curious expression. She recognized the last Uchiha easily, but she had no idea who the pink-haired girl was, and she felt like she had seen the blonde before, but she just couldn't place him. Of course. This, my dear pupils, is Kakashi Hatake, my eternal rival since we were not but genin, Guy declared. Kakashi just gave a lazy yo, once again making Guy burst into anime tears. There's that cursed hip attitude of yours again. My flames of youth shall not be diminished. Anyway, Kakashi, I'd like you to meet 2 of my pupils, Tenten. Here he pointed at the girl who gave a polite wave, and Niji. He finished pointing at the Hyuga who just nodded his head in acknowledgement. My third and most hardworking student, however, is in the hospital resting from a rather youthful training session, Guy declared with a proud look. Well, Guy, these are my students, Sakura Harino. Sakura smiled and bowed slightly. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke just grunted and glared at Niji. A rivalry of which pathetic eye is better, any? And finally Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi finished with an eye smile. Suddenly there was shout of Naruto-kun. And said blonde was glomped by Tenten. The girl was squeezing the life out of the blonde with a giant smile on her face while Naruto just said good to see you too, Tenchan, with a small smirk and showing no interest that his spine could actually be heard cracking and snapping. Wait, you two know each other? Sakura asked in confusion. To her, the very idea of someone actually being happy to see Naruto and not freaked out was just strange to her. I mean, who in their right mind would openly hug Naruto? The guy was the very definition of creepy mixed with insanity. Somewhere in a dark forest a certain purple-haired girl sneezed. Wonder who's talking about me? She shrugged and went back to the file she was reading about one Naruto Uzumaki. Meanwhile Naruto was explaining his relationship with Tenten. Well, if you must know, girl of pink hair and large forehead, Naruto smirked as Sakura developed a tick mark on her forehead. Tenten here is an old friend and sparring partner, though in reality I was more like a test subject for her weapons. Tenten got a sheepish look on her face at that. I said sorry for all the cuts and stuff, Tenten said nervously as her sensei and teammate gave her a strange look. Don't apologize, it was my fault for not dodging quick enough. Nothing like a few near beheadings and stabbed lungs to remind you to avoid flying pointy objects and swords, any? Naruto said with a dismissive wave while everyone just stared in shock. Thank Kami for demonic healing factors. Or would that be Yami? Naruto mused. Shrugging he continued, either way, now I know what color my insides are and that if reattached quick enough, my limbs can be grafted back on, though I still don't want to test to see if it's the same for my head. Naruto finished as everyone but Tenten turned an unhealthy shade of green. What the hell was wrong with this kid? Tenten, is this all true? Guy asked in a stern voice. He didn't like the idea of her nearly killing fellow Konoha shinobi. Relax, bushy brow sensei, this was back when we were still in the academy and orphanage. One day I saw her practicing with weapons and noticed she was looking quite bored just attacking a stuffed doll, so I offered my services as a moving target and sparring partner. I mean, really, haven't you ever wondered how a clanless orphan got so good at wielding not only kunai and shuriken, but as well as numerous other weapons? Naruto asked with a bit of a condescending smirk. Now that the taijutsu master thought about it, it was rather odd how an orphan was so adept at fighting with weapons and knowing just where to strike to either incapacitate or kill. He felt a little ashamed that he hadn't gotten to know his students a little better. Tenten, Niji, I have failed you as a sensei. Guy exclaimed as he burst into tears. From here on out I promise to be a better sensei. No, the best sensei I can be. I promise by my burning flames of Youth. With that, Guy grabbed both Niji and Tenten and rocketed into the air on a fiery rainbow, all the while screaming youth, while both Tenten and Niji screamed out of pure terror. Well, that's new, Kakashi said with a slightly surprised but still lazy look. That was scarier than Naruto, Sakura stated with a deadpan expression. Suddenly there was a rumbling noise and everyone turned to see Naruto's body shaking quite violently. Suddenly cracks started to appear in Naruto's body, revealing a blinding white light. Soon, Naruto exploded into light white, causing Team 7 to look away. When they looked back, they saw a miniature but blonde and goggled version of Guy. They stared in horror at Naruto's bright smile, bushy blonde eyebrows with matching blonde bowl cut. In absolute terror, they watched him assume the nice guy pose and launch into the air with a rainbow stream behind him, screaming "Youth!" They stared in silence for a while before Sakura said, "I stand corrected." 1 week later, Team 7 bridge meeting spot. Sakura sighed as she sat and waited for her ever-late sensei with her teammates. Sometimes she wondered why she even showed up when she did. She could show up 3 hours late and probably still be there before her sensei. She glanced at her teammates, taking note that Sasuke wasn't really acknowledging anyone around him and Naruto was lost somewhere in his mind. She had asked him about it once out of curiosity, and he said just chatting with a hot piece of tail, confusing her and angering her because she thought Naruto was being a pervert. Meanwhile, Naruto was chatting with Kyuubi about the seal, which was pretty much gone. "So Vixen-chan, when do you think you'll be free?" "From where I stand, I'd say a couple days," he asked. Kyuubi sighed. "Well, that's where we hit a snag, dumpling," she said in a glum voice. Naruto quirked an eyebrow at that. "Snag?" he asked. "We only have about 36 hours, and after that I will be free, but it won't be quiet or pleasant for either of us," she replied. "What do you mean exactly?" Naruto asked with some caution. "It's going to feel like your entire stomach is being set on fire while simultaneously being ripped apart, while I have to go through the process of being removed from your body and creating a new body," Kyuubi explained. Naruto raised both eyebrows at that, and just said, "Damn." "Yup." "Wait, how is creating a body painful?" "I get the whole being ripped out part, but how does creating a body hurt?" Naruto asked with slight confusion. "Because it takes concentration like no other, and afterwards the headache is killer. Just imagine a whole flock of screaming Sakuras in your head and you get the idea," Kyuubi responded with a shudder. She hated making bodies for herself. The entire process required absolute and total concentration because you had to assimilate your mind and soul into a new body that had to be made without flaw. The slightest imperfection in the body could result in death. One misplaced cell, not enough blood in your system, too little oxygen to the brain, and you'd be dead within the hour. Kyuubi could do it, make no mistake, but it was just a bitch to do and left you with a huge headache because your mind has to connect with everything and it's not gradual but instant, meaning she'd get her body, blink, pass out from information overload, and wake up with something akin to a hangover caused by 7 shots of tequila. Naruto grimaced at that. The Chunin exam started today, and that meant his transformation from simple human to Hanyu would be tomorrow during what he thought would be the more dangerous challenges. During the process he was positive he'd be vulnerable, and he had no idea how long the process took. Besides that, it's kind of hard not to notice a demon's chakra being released. No doubt the genin would run screaming and Naruto would be more than likely attacked. Then again, his regenerative abilities were impressive as it were. If he was becoming a half-demon, wouldn't his regenerative abilities just skyrocket to the point wounds healed almost instantly? Then again, best to test that theory when you could defend yourself than when they could actually kill you, Naruto thought with shrug. "Any ideas on what we should do?" Naruto asked. "Nope, the best we could do is get a reverse summon to Alala's hunting grounds until the process is over. But considering how you need all 3 teammates alive to get to the prelims, it would be stupid to leave your teammates alone for longer than, what? 5 minutes? 10? Kyuubi said with slight annoyance. "So just go with the flow and hope for the best?" Naruto asked. "Pretty much." Naruto sighed a bit at that. He didn't really like not having a plan, but in their current situation, improvisation would have to be implemented. Besides, never hurt to think on your feet, kept the mind sharp and made sure you kept your plans flexible. Naruto was interrupted from his musings when a poof of smoke heralded the arrival of Kakashi Hatake. "You're late," Sakura screeched. "What was that, Sakura?" Kakashi asked with his head tilted to the side. Sakura became confused and said it again, but the one-eyed nin just furrowed his brow. "I think you made him go deaf," Sasuke said with a wary glance at the pink-haired girl. Said girl paled and started panicking, screaming and shouting at her sensei with wild gestures. Kakashi just stared in puzzlement till Naruto pointed at his ears and mouthed out, "Take them out." In sudden realization, Kakashi removed the plugs that had been in his ears, much to the anger/relief of Sakura and amusement of Naruto. Even Sasuke smirked at his sensei's antics. "Right then, you 3, as you know the Chunin exams are today. You've already filled out the forms, so just head to the academy and go to room 301, Kakashi explained. "You have about a half hour before the first exam starts, so you may want to hurry," Kakashi said with an eye smile. Then before Sakura could protest, the man disappeared in a poof of smoke. "Damn it! How are we going to reach the academy in 30 minutes? Sakura shouted in anger. Sasuke just grunted and got ready to go when he was interrupted by a shout of summoning jutsu, and the sound of a giant poof of smoke. Turning, Sasuke and Sakura beheld the sight of 3 hyenas, each one as big as a horse with gray fur, black spots and yellow eyes along with a mane of black fur that went from the base of the back of the neck to the middle of their backs except for one whose mane went to the crown of its head and shadowed its eyes. "Okay, who summoned us?" asked the one with the hair in its eyes in a surprisingly feminine voice. "Hey Shensi. You think you, Banzai, and Ed could give us a ride to the academy?" Naruto asked with a big grin. "And why should we?" asked the one on Shensi's right in a gravelly annoyed voice. The last hyena, one with unfocused eyes, a big grin and tongue lolling out of his head, nodded up and down comically, tongue actually slapping its head. "He's got a point, what's in it for us?" asked Shensi. Naruto smirked at that and pulled out a scroll. Wiping some blood on it, the scroll disappeared and in its place was an elephant's shinbone, something twice the size and width of Naruto, but the blonde carried it easily. Banzai looked surprised while Ed drooled at the sight of the bone. "Give us a ride and the bone is yours," Naruto said, while dangling the bone in front of the ill-tempered hyena. "Deal!" shouted the 3 hyenas, while 2 of them shouted. The other gave a loud yelping laugh. Without further ado, Naruto leapt onto Shensi's back while the other 2 snatched up both Sakura and Sasuke by their clothes and sped off towards the academy. At the academy, with a mighty thud, all 3 hyenas landed in the front of the academy building. Naruto was sitting relaxed on top of Shensi while Sakura was screaming to be let go from Banzai, whom was currently holding her by her long pink hair. Sasuke looked very annoyed as he tried to stop Ed from gnawing on his legs. "Thanks for the ride, guys. Here's your payment," Naruto called out to the hyena trio as he tossed the bone to them. Immediately the 2 males released their charges and flung themselves at the bone, all 3 disappearing in a poof of smoke with the elephant Shin nowhere in sight. "Never do that again," Sakura screeched angrily at Naruto while the Uchiha sent him a murderous glare. "No time to listen to your mouth now, Sakura, we have work to do. My hyenas got us here in time, but unless you wish to stay a genin for the rest of your life, you may want to shut the hell up and get your unattractive ass into the building," Naruto stated as he walked briskly over to the academy doors. Sakura was about to retort but thought better of it and instead settled for a Sasuke glare ahead and brood. Upon looking back to see if his teammates were following, Naruto smirked upon seeing Sakura channeling her inner emo. It warmed his insane little heart to see he had brought the Uchiha closer to his fangirl. Upon entering the academy, the 3 Chunin hopefuls progressed towards the 3rd floor where the first exam was to be held. However, a rather large crowd blocking their way stopped their progress. They watched as a boy, who looked like a miniature version of Guy, except with white wrappings all over his hands and forearms and minus the jacket, was knocked back by 2 leaf ninja who were guarding the door. Naruto noticed that Tenten was helping this boy back to his feet and deduced that this must be the final member of Team 9. "Let us in already!" cried one of the genin. "No way, kid, these exams are tough, and if you can't get past us then you'll just end up a bloody smear," stated one of the genin guarding the door. "Yeah, we're actually doing you guys a favor, so just get lost," stated the other. Naruto sighed at the genin in front of him and debated on whether he should reveal the genjutsu or not. On one hand, by not telling them he eliminated a good portion of the competition and upped his team's chances at survival, but on the other hand, that would make the exams much more boring. Naruto knew for a fact he would be required to fight other opponents, and even allowed to kill them, and by eliminating these opponents he denied himself the chance at testing out his new skills and the thrill of a fight. Besides, with more teams, it was less likely his team would be targeted in the upcoming exams. Before the blonde could reach a conclusion, Mr. Cool decided to act. "Oi, drop the genjutsu," Sasuke ordered, causing everyone to look at him. "What are you talking about?" asked a random student. "He means that you all need to work on your arithmetic," Naruto stated with a smirk. "Tell me, what floor are we on?" asked the blonde. "The 2nd floor," a boy said immediately. "Very good. Here's a treat," Naruto stated as he tossed a biscuit at the boy. "Now what room is the first exam in?" Naruto asked in a sickeningly sweet voice. "Room 301, stated the boy who Naruto had thrown the biscuit at. Surprisingly, said boy was eating the biscuit. Well, surprising to everyone who hasn't met an Inuzuka, for that's what the boy was. "Excellent. Here's another treat, my smart little friend," Naruto exclaimed in a voice dripping with sarcastic pride. "Now if room 101 is on the 1st floor and room 200 is on the 2nd floor, why would room 301 also be on the 2nd floor?" Naruto asked. Immediately the light bulb went off and there was the sound of collective facepalm. "Ah, music to my ears," Naruto stated as he started to walk away. You son of a! Screamed a random boy as he moved to strike the blonde. Naruto was about to retaliate when none other than the mini guy blocked both attacks. Naruto quirked an eyebrow at the speed the boy displayed, but he couldn't say he was too surprised. Guy prided himself on his speed, and if this was a mini-me of the man, then he was obviously taught speed and power front and foremost. Lee! I thought said to keep our abilities hidden. Tenten scolded the bowl-cut-haired boy. But Tenten-chan Lee started only to be interrupted by the rude arrival of one certain Hyuga. Our element of surprise has been spoiled, there is nothing we can do about it, so move on to the third floor, Niji ordered coldly. With that, he sent a glare at the Uchiha and moved on, his teammates following behind. Soon, Team 7 followed them but was stopped once again, this time by Rock Lee himself. Uchiha Sasuke, I challenge you to a duel, stated the boy loudly. As much as I'd love to see Mr. Sad Sackless get his ass kicked, I'm afraid we're running late, so he must respectfully decline, Naruto stated, moving up the stairs already. Humph, this won't take long, Sasuke stated as he got into his stance. Naruto rolled his eyes and sat down to watch the show. There's just nothing quite like watching a pompous fool get his arrogant ass kicked. As he predicted, Sasuke was getting creamed. No matter what Sasuke tried, Lee was simply much faster than him, and judging by the kick that sent Sasuke up into the air with a look on his face that screamed agony, the green-clad boy was also much stronger. Naruto watched as Sasuke started to fall head first into the ground when Lee appeared behind him, also upside down. The bullcut used bandages then started to wrap around Sasuke when suddenly, the bandages were pinned to a wall by a pinwheel. As soon as Naruto felt the presence of Mato Guy, the blonde left, not wishing to be any later than he already was. Soon the blonde approached the double doors to room 301, and was surprised to find his sensei leaning against a wall. Hey Naruto, what's up? Kakashi asked pleasantly. He looked around then asked, where's Sasuke and Sakura? Naruto chuckled at that. He's getting his ass kicked by one of Guy's students and Sakura stayed to watch, Naruto said with a shrug. If I'm right, Guy probably appeared to stop Lee from doing a move that should never be done on a comrade, punished him, then they probably did that man-hug thing of theirs, Naruto stated nonchalantly. He paused though with a thoughtful look, though where the heck does that genjutsu of theirs come from? It doesn't use chakra or hand signs, the blonde asked. Kakashi just shrugged and decided to wait for the other two like Naruto. Actually I know where that genjutsu comes from, Kyuubi stated. Interested, Naruto tuned out the real world for a second. Really? Then how does it work? Asked the blonde with intrigue. The process is a bit like killing intent, Kyuubi started. Killing intent uses a concentration of hatred or intimidation to make the victim see their own deaths. However, the genjutsu that the two green guys use is fueled by what you humans call guy love. There was a pause for a second. So basically you can make genjutsus with just emotions? And if you make one out of pure guy love it looks like a waterfall with a rainbow? Naruto asked. It's mostly just for show, the only emotional genjutsu that's actually effective is killing intent, but then again, it's easily dispelled, Kyuubi explained. Then how do you dispel the man-hug genjutsu? You know what they say, nothing can destroy true love and there is hardly any love truer than guy love, answered the vixen sagely. The blonde just shrugged and decided he'd stay satisfied with the answer, no reason to use more brainpower than necessary, right? As the blonde finished he saw Sasuke and Sakura approaching, though it was more like Sakura dragging Sasuke because of the thrashing he took from Lee. Wonder if he used his Sharingan in that fight? Naruto mused. It seems you're all here, Kakashi said. That's good, because if even one of you had not come then none of you will be able to enter the exams, he finished with an eye smile. Sakura of course freaked out and asked what the point was while Sasuke got really annoyed at that bit of information. If either one of his teammates had chickened out he would have lost high chance at getting stronger. Naruto was unfazed. He knew an entire team was needed and he would have just made 2 shadow clones hinged as his teammates if either showed up or if one was missing. He was actually surprised when Sakura signed up. Team 7 then walked into the exam room where they were met with a squeal of Sasuke-kun. A platinum blonde-haired girl clad in a purple dress that left little to the imagination of course followed this. The girl's name was Ino Yamanaka. Currently she had latched on to Sasuke like her life depended on it, which in turn caused Sakura to get in a screaming match with her. During this the other genin were trying to intimidate the new arrivals but that was quickly dispelled when Naruto unleashed some of his own ki. Naruto just tuned the girls out and walked up to Ino's teammates, Shikamaru Nara and Chuji Akamichi. Shikamaru was easily defined as lazy genius, his constantly bored-looking eyes never missing a beat. He had black hair tied into a ponytail that made him look like a pineapple with matching black eyes. He wore a mesh shirt underneath a gray short-sleeved jacket with the Nara clan symbol on both shoulders. His headband was tied around his left arm, a hoop earring in both ears, brown pants and standard shinobi sandals. Chuji was a rather rotund brown-haired person with swirls on his cheeks. He too had a hoop earring in each ear and wore a green short jacket over a white t-shirt with the kanji for eat written on the front. He also wore a large white scarf, gray shorts, bandages on his legs and forearms, standard shinobi sandals, and wears his headband bandana style. "Yo Shikamaru, what's up?" Naruto greeted the lazy boy. "Gotta say, never expected your lazy ass to be here." "My mom made me," the Nara stated in a bored tone. "Ha! Something tells me that in the future, you're going to be completely whipped, Nara," Naruto stated with a laugh. Shikamaru just grunted while Chuji stuffed his face with chips. "How the hell did you get into the exams, Uzumaki?" asked a voice from behind our blonde maniac. Turning, Naruto smirked as he saw the final members of the Rookie 9, Team 8. Team 8 was composed of Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga and Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba wore a dark gray sweatshirt with a fur-lined hood and matching shorts with the standard blue shinobi sandals. He had red fawn-like triangles under his slit eyes, and atop his brown hair was a white dog named Akamaru. Hinata wore a baggy beige jacket with flame symbols on the shoulders and standard shinobi shorts with the standard sandals. Her headband was around her neck, and she had midnight blue hair that was cut short with two bangs framing her face that housed lavender-tinted white pupil-less eyes. Lastly, Shino had a long tan trench coat that had a high collar that covered his face up to his nose, along with perfectly round shades to hide his eyes and brown hair. He also wore the standard shinobi shorts and sandals with his headband in the traditional fashion and place. Why does all of Team 8 wear jackets except for their sensei? Seriously, it's like join the club, we have jackets. While I'm at it, why does all of Team 10 have earrings? It doesn't make sense. Well, seeing as the writer is done with his rant, my answer to your question, dog breath, is that I signed up, Naruto responded with a smirk. With that, he pointedly ignored the dog boy and started to observe the other competition. For the most part, the blonde was unimpressed except for the teams from Suna, Oto, and Kusa. There was something about the redhead with the gourd on his back that told Naruto to be extremely careful. "Oh Kami, please no," Kyubi moaned. "Eh? What's up, Vixen-chan?" "I'm pretty sure that Suna kid has the Ichibi sealed inside of him," she replied in a kill me tone. "Okay, but why are you acting like that's a bad thing? Granted, he'll be a bit of a problem, but 9 tails beats 1. Ichibi is an insane pervert that never leaves me alone," Kyubi explained. While this had been going on, Naruto had missed the introduction of a silver-haired bespectacled genin named Kabuto. He had just finished saying that he had a ton of information because he had taken the exams 7 times. "If you need information about people, just ask me and I'll see what I've got with my ninja info cards," stated the boy. "What info do you have on a guy named Rock Lee and Naruto Uzumaki?" Sasuke demanded. "Also, do you have any info on a red-haired sand ninja with a gourd strapped to his back?" Naruto asked. "Okay, let's see here," started the boy as he pulled out 3 cards. "Rock Lee of Konoha has completed 25 D ranks and 3 C ranks. He has absolutely no nin or genjutsu to speak of, but his taijutsu is off the charts. Teammates are Tenten and Niji Hyuga, and Jounin Sensei is Mato Guy," stated the boy. "The boy with the gourd on his back is Garan no Sabaku, completed 25 D ranks, 15 B ranks, and 4 A ranks, and if that isn't impressive enough, he came back without a single scratch on him," Kabuto stated with some surprise. "He also has a mastery over manipulating sand. Definitely Ichibi Jinchuriki, most likely use a sand shield if the without a scratch thing is anything is to go by," Kyubi stated. Naruto mentally noted that the best way to get past the shield would be with a piercing attack, most likely lightning-based. Lastly, Naruto Uzumaki, completed 25 D ranks and 2 A ranks, started the boy before he was interrupted. "2 A ranks? But our team has only completed 1 A rank," Sakura protested. "He's most likely referring to my find of Kufish's notes. I turned some of them in but kept the majority for myself," Naruto stated nonchalantly. Kabuto nodded at that and continued. "Naruto also holds a summoning contract for hyenas, some strong ninjutsu, no genjutsu to speak of, a formidable taijutsu, and a very interesting control over shadows," Kabuto finished. "Naruto, be very careful, this guy smells like snakes, same for those Oto nin and the Kusa nin," Kyubi stated with a growl as she was speaking. Kabuto made a statement about the sound nins which caused them to attack the silver-haired nin. A bandaged hunchback dude swung at him but apparently missed. However, Kabuto's glasses broke and he ended up vomiting from the frequency produced by the hunchback's strange arm contraption. Before things could escalate, there was a giant poof of smoke, and when it cleared there stood a Biki with a congregation of Chunins armed with clipboards. "Alright maggots, shut up and take your seats or I fail you here and now," barked the interrogator. "The first exam begins now." Quickly, everyone took a designated eat and listened as the proctor explained the rules. The first exam was apparently a written exam, and the rules were that you have 10 points, and you get a point for each question you answer. There were 9 questions, and the last one would be given after 45 minutes into the exam. Every time caught cheating and you lost 2 points. Caught 5 times and you are failed along with the rest of your team. As soon as Naruto saw the questions, he knew there was no way he could answer these questions. Sakura and Shikamaru could, but everyone else would either have to sit there like a statue or cheat. Looking around, Naruto noticed that everyone was cheating. The Chunin, who wore a cat suit and makeup, its war paint damn it, was using a puppet disguised as a Chunin to get the answers, while Gaara used the third eye technique. Kiba was using Akamaru while Shino used his bugs. Tenten used mirrors to get the answers, while Sasuke and the Hyugas used their Dijutsus to get their answers. Ino used a mind transfer technique to get her answers from Sakura. Shrugging, Naruto made a shadow clone under his desk and switched with it, then quickly melted into the shadows, so he was halfway between the shadow world and real world. Quickly, he jumped to a shadow beneath one of Tenten's mirrors and quickly transferred the answers he saw with his clone mentally. Well, that was easy. $5 says the last question has something to do with if we have the guts to take the last question, thought the blonde. 45 minutes later, after the rules for the 10th question are revealed. Those of you who are still here, Ibiki said with a dramatic pause, have passed. There was silence then. Nanny? People then started asking what the 10th question was and all that jazz, until Ibiki explained that a ninja must be willing to go forward, despite the fact that there was an unknown factor. Somebody now owes me $5, Naruto thought with a grin. Kyubi just rolled her eyes at her container. When I get out of here, you're going to get something a lot better than $5, Kyubi thought with a perverted grin. A black ball of cloth that smashed through the window interrupted the thoughts of everyone. The ball then exploded, revealing a banner that said, "Your second exam proctors, the sexy and single, Anko Mitarashi and Zabuza Momochi." Sure enough, standing in front of the banner was Anko in a sexy pose and Zabuza, who looked completely embarrassed. "All right, maggots. Time for the next exam," Anko barked. Ibiki leaned out from behind the banner and said, "Anko, you're early again." Everybody got a sweat drop at this, while Zabuza just palmed his face and thought, "Kami, kill me now." Anko blinked and observed the teams before her with a frown. "Yo, Ibiki, there are like 21 teams here, what gives? You going soft on me?" she asked. "No, we just have a pretty good crop this year, which doesn't surprise me considering who else is here," Ibiki stated while pointing at Naruto. Anko looked at said smiling blonde and got a very dangerous glint in her eyes along with a playful smirk. "Doesn't matter, after this exam, more than half will be eliminated," Anko stated with a sadistic smirk. This caused most of the genin to either pale or tense up. Our favorite Psycho, however, just gave the biggest smile he could and thought, "Fun time. Who the hell said it was okay to hold the Chunin exams inside my home?" Naruto shouted while all the genin looked at him like he was insane, well, more insane. "What the hell is wrong with that old monkey? The least he could have done is told me. Now I'm going to look like a bad host, because I don't have any snacks or drinks prepared," ranted the blonde. Everyone gave the blonde a strange look as he ranted about bad manners and how he didn't have time to clean. Sasuke and Sakura just sighed, as it was nothing new to them, while Anko smirked a bit. If one thing was for sure, the kid was entertaining. "Alright, Blondie, you can shut it," Anko barked at the blonde. Naruto just seemed to ignore her as he continued his rant, this time about how the tigers hadn't had their fur cleaned and would look absolutely disgusting. Anko got a tick mark at that and threw a kunai at the boy. As soon as the weapon grazed Naruto's cheek, he stopped his rant, and not seconds later Anko was lapping up the blood from his lightly bleeding cheek. "You have some tasty blood," Anko purred into his ear. "Be a shame if it got sprayed all over the forest because you don't know to keep your mouth shut," she said, confident she had finally freaked the teen out. However, Naruto did something no one expected. Twirling around, the blonde grabbed Anko's head and rammed his lips against hers. Surprised, the girl had no time to react to Naruto's tongue invading her mouth and then caressing her own tongue. Just as she was melting into the kiss and about to fight back with her own tongue, the kiss had ended with the blonde smacking his lips and hand on chin in a thoughtful manner. "You know you're right," he said with a grin. "My blood is delicious," he proclaimed. With that, the blonde grabbed 2 shot glasses and a kunai from his trench coat, and in one swift motion, cut his palm open and poured the blood into the glasses. "Bottoms up," he proclaimed before downing one of them and throwing the empty glass behind him, the object shattering on the face of a certain red-headed Chunin. Gaara," said one of his teammates nervously, a boy clad in a black cat suit with purple war paint, its makeup, on his face and some strange bandaged object on his back. "You okay?" he asked, as some blood dripped down the redhead's face, while the boy himself had a blank look the entire time. He dies, slowly painfully replied the boy named Gaara. I don't care if mother wants his demon, he will die, he said with a burst of killing intent to make his point across. His teammates just shuddered while the blonde girl thought, that kid is screwed. Who wants some? Naruto cried as he held the other blood-filled glass out to everyone. Needless to say, they all stepped back except for a female Kusanine. I'll take some, the girl said with a slight hiss. With a grin, the boy gave her the glass and she held it up in a toast to your health, she hissed before downing the glass. Dear God, these guys are freaks, thought one Hinata Hyuga as she sent a disgusted look at the blonde and girl. Hinata was a rather mean girl, okay, because of constant shunning from her family. Hinata had devoted everything into her training and was only rivaled by her cousin Niji. But because of this, she had killed her social skills and looked down on everyone. She was a grade A, top of the class, cream of the crop, bitch. She just wore a tight muscle shirt that showed off her flat stomach and borderline D cup along with some tight pants that stopped at midshin with a kunai holster on her right thigh and high-heeled shinobi sandals. She also had waist-length midnight blue hair and a permanent icy look in her lavender pupil-less eyes. If you two freaks are done drinking tainted blood, how about Miss Slutty here starts the second exam? She demanded in a cold voice. Anko frowned and was about to put the girl in her place when she heard a bang go off and saw a cut appear on the Hyuga's cheek, whose eyes were wide with surprise. Turning, she saw Naruto with his gun out, grinning like a madman at the Hyuga heiress. Sorry about that, I was actually aiming to take your eye out, but it seems my sights need some adjusting or sinking into his shadow. He reappeared behind the girl, mouth next to the Hinata's ear and gun barrel digging into her head painfully. I could just shoot from here, he whispered in a psychotic giggle. Suddenly his voice changed as he dug a little more into the girl's head with the weapon. Now listen, Hyuga, he said in a cold, dead voice, insult her again and you will wish I had blown your brains out with a bullet. With that, the blonde disappeared once more into his shadow and next to his teammates. Hinata just stood there, stunned at what the boy had said and done. And no one had ever talked to her like that. No one had even gotten that close to her before except for in spars. Well, Kiba had tried once and ended up in the hospital for about 5 days. That boy is interesting, she thought with a slight smirk as she glared at the blonde. Anko saw the glare and smirked as well. This promises to be a very interesting exam, Anko mentally snickered. 20 minutes later in the Forest of Death. Basically, the test was a survival challenge. Each team had either had a heaven or earth scroll and had to get the opposite of their scroll from another team. Once they had the scroll, they had to get to the tower in the center of the forest. They had 5 days to get the needed scroll. Killing was allowed. They weren't allowed to look at the contents of their scroll until they made it to the tower, and they had to have a full team in both a heaven and earth scroll in order to pass. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were sitting high in a tree trying to make a plan. The first thing we need to do is find out who will carry our heaven scroll, Sasuke stated. I can't take it because the other teams will believe the strongest has it, so I can't take it, he said as Sakura looked at him with hearts in her eyes. Naruto, however, had summoned up 4 clones and was playing Russian roulette with them. Surprisingly, the 4 he summoned were Ichi, and I, San and Sure. My turn, said an excited San as he put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. There was only a click, signifying the bullet had still yet to be shot. Ah, looks like you're up, Ichi, San chirped happily. Ichi just rolled his eyes and grabbed the gun. The clone stared at it, a little scared that the bullet might be shot. A clone may only be mad of chakra, but they still felt pain, and a bullet in the brain was not a very pleasant feeling to have. What's wrong, Ichi? Scared? Asked Sure in a dead voice. Shut up, Sure. Ichi shot back. I ain't scared of some stupid bullet, he declared. With that, the clone put the gun to his head, charged in some chakra and pulled the trigger. With a bang, the bullet dispelled the clone as all the Narutos laughed at their brother's unfortunate luck, except for Enai, who just rolled his eyes and lied down to sleep. Giggling, Naruto resummoned a very pissed clone. Assholes, stop laughing. That fucking hurt, Ichi exclaimed as he sent a furious glare towards the other clones and original. Would you stop messing around? Yelled Sakura at her teammate and his clones. This is serious and Sasuke-kun is trying to make a plan, she lectured. Yes, I know, Naruto stated with a dismissive wave. Mr. Tomb and Gloom wants someone to carry the scroll, but he says he can't carry it because he'd be the first person people would attack to get it, which is wrong because everyone will be doing the same thing, Naruto replied while picking at his fingernails. And what does that mean, Dobe? Sasuke growled. Easy, any ninja worth his salt would know to give the scroll to the least likely person, in other words the weakest member. But a better ninja knows this thinking and gives the scroll to the most likely choice, which would be the strongest on the team. But an even better ninja would give the scroll to the middleman, who is neither the weakest nor the strongest, but the best ninja has an even better idea and hides the scroll by either making a decoy, changing it to look like something else, and so on, explained the blonde. Sasuke seemed to look like he understood but was inwardly confused. Sakura, on the other hand, voiced her confusion by screeching in a volume that would make a howler monkey jealous. What the hell are you talking about? As everyone tried to regain their hearing, Ichi made his opinion known. You are the loudest bitch I have ever known. If anyone has to wonder if you're a screamer, the answer is obvious. He shouted. Though whoever does the horizontal mix with you is going to be deaf after foreplay. Grumbled the clone while Sure nodded in agreement. Seriously, you really need to watch your voice volume, Sure stated. And why should I? Demanded Sakura. Suddenly, the whistling of thrown kunai was heard and Team 7 along with the clones quickly leapt to the forest floor to avoid no less than 50 kunai thrown at them. Suddenly from the ground appeared hundreds of Amnines wearing ugly yellow skin-tight full-body suits, and rebreathers started to form from the ground. Mostly because that mouth of yours may be perfect for taking more than one cock in your mouth, but it's going to get us killed, Ichi declared with a growl as he took up a defensive position along with his lookalikes. Hand over the scroll and you won't die, declared one of the Amnines, but it was being thrown all over the place. What do we do? Sakura asked fearfully. In answer, Sasuke activated his Sharingan while Naruto and his clones each armed themselves with a kunai in each hand. Alright fellas, a 5, 6, 7, 8. The original proclaimed as he snapped out a fast beat with a giant grin on his face. With that, all 5 Narutos leapt into the fray and started to slice away at what was a mixture of simple Bunshin and Earth clones. Ichi laughed maniacally as he brutally slaughtered the AIM clones, but snarled every time he was rewarded only with a disappearing illusion or some earth hitting the dirt. Come out and fight, cowards! Let me taste your blood, he commanded before ripping out an Earth clone's neck. And I seemed bored as he did the bare minimum to avoid attacks and dispel the Earth clones. He yawned as an Earth clone tried to decapitate him but avoided the strike by barely leaning back, then dispelled the clone with a simple kick to the family jewels. Troublesome, he muttered before backhanding another simple Bunshin. San and I were working back to back as they played a game of 20 questions. Are you male? San asked while stabbing 2 clones. Yes, replied the logical clone as he parried a strike, then kicked the Earth clone away. Are you a Konoha shinobi? Yes. Do you hide most of your face? San asked while uppercutting a simple Bunshin. Hi, replied the logical clone. Are you Kakashi? Finished San as he used a shadow spike to kill another Earth clone. Correct. Sure exclaimed while using a knife strike against another one. The original was laughing as he swung a shadow sword around, cutting left and right with seeming no regard to any danger sent his way. For the most part, the boy seemed drunk as he swung the wind-infused shadow sword around. Ring around the rosy. Pockets full of posies. Ashes, ashes we all fall down, sang the blonde as he spun, sending a burst of wind chakra through his sword, cutting through the last of the clones near him. Where are they? Sasuke thought as watched the battle. Throughout the entire battle the boy had used his Sharingan to try and find the source of the seemingly endless clones, but he had found nothing but chakra constructs. They must be attacking from a distance, Sasuke realized. This time he looked at a clone and found a small trail of chakra leading back towards a large branch covered with leaves. Smirking, the boy did some quick hand seals before inhaling deeply. Katan, Spitfire Jutsu, Sasuke declared as he spat a fireball into the hiding place. Eyes widening in fear, the 3 Amnines jumped from their hiding place out into the open. Before they could say anything, they found themselves being attacked by a very bloodthirsty Ichi. Finally! Roared the clone in satisfaction. With that, the blonde grabbed one of the Amnine, quickly slicing the tendons in the shinobi's legs and yanking with all his might on the arms of the Nin, causing them to pop out of their sockets rather painfully if the unfortunate ninja's screams were anything to go by. His teammates rushed to help but found themselves being held in place by the other shadow clones via the Nara clan-style shadow possession jutsu. Just sit back and enjoy the show, the original declared before turning back to Ichi. No! Please stop! Begged the ninja. Mercy! He cried. All out of mercy, Ichi grunted as he sat on the Amnine's back. He then grabbed the sides of the ninja's head and began to pull. All we have left is bladeless decapitation, he roared with primal glee. And with that, Ichi ripped the screaming ninja's head off, pulling the spine out with it. For a second, a strangled scream tore from the ninja's body while the face contorted into a visage of agonizing pain. Spraying a fountain of blood, the body fell to the ground, spraying all of its precious floods on the forest floor while the light in the ninja's eyes faded but the face stayed the same. Look like you're out of the game, Ichi whispered as he panted. The clone was currently coming down from his adrenaline high he had gathered from fighting and killing the ninja whose head was now in his hand. With a grin, Ichi grabbed the spine that was sticking out of the head still and swung it like a club. With a sickening splat, The organic weapon smashed against a tree and exploded in a shower of blood, bones, and brain matter. Well, I'm satisfied, see you guys later, Ichi said in a happy chirp before dispelling. Shrugging, Naruto pulled out his gun and killed the other two Nins with a bored look while his other clones dispelled as well. You have some serious problems, Dobe, Sasuke stated as he sent a disgusted look towards the remains of their enemies. Sakura just looked pale and ready to puke at a moment's notice. This coming from the boy whose family used their insane founder's plot to take over and enslave its own comrades with the unwilling help of a smoking hot demon and an eye that requires you to kill your best friend just to upgrade then go blind every time you use them, Naruto replied coolly as he started to search for the scroll, smirking slightly as he saw Sasuke tense up and dart his eyes towards Sakura nervously. And don't even get me started on your obsession to kill your brother, the only competent Uchiha, and the fact you throw every girl who approaches you away then go after the women who want nothing to do with you. Sighing, Naruto frowned as he pulled up a heaven scroll. Sasuke doesn't have problems. Sakura nearly yelled, you're the one who keeps killing everyone. You laugh at the pain you cause and even your clones get a sick pleasure in killing people in the most brutal ways I've ever seen. Sakura ranted. Naruto just tuned her out while he sealed away the remains of the 3 enemy ninjas into his replacement scroll. So what do we do now? Sasuke asked quietly to himself. He watched as Naruto took one of the heaven scrolls and dropped it into his shadow, where it just disappeared. Blinking, Sasuke frowned at that. Dobe, he said, catching a curious look from Naruto. How do you do that shadow thing? The Uchiha demanded. Why? Asked the blonde.